Chapter 66. Would you be willing to marry me? Seeing Jin Paihuan's undisguised defiance, a hint of pleasure crossed Xiao Nanya's face. If my guess is correct, the Emperor intends to use you to control the entire Jiang clan, he stated. With Jiang Paihuan's gaze filled with displeasure, he continued, Don't worry about this. They'll devise a plan to discourage the Emperor from this idea. But there's one thing I must ask you. Please speak, Your Highness. Would you be willing to marry me? At Xiao Nanya's words, Jiang Peihuan fell into silence once again. Observing her silence, Xiao Nani carried on, If you become my wife, you will be the only woman I desire. In the whole Cheng mansion, there won't be any other woman but you. Jiang Peihuan, who was about to respond, was stunned by his words. She instinctively looked into the man's eyes, meeting his unblinking gaze. Xiao Nanya's eyes were deep, his focus unwavering as he watched Jiang Peihuan. She could clearly see her reflection in his eyes, giving her the impression that she was the only person in his world. Is it true what you've said, Your Highness? She found herself asking, as if driven by some unknown force. Hearing her question, a trace of a smile appeared in his eyes. My word is my bond. I promise, I won't lie to you. If it's as you say, then I, Peihuan, am willing to marry, she said. Good. You needn't worry about this. I will handle it, he assured. Upon hearing her acceptance, a look of sheer joy flooded Xiao Nanya's eyes. He yearned to reach out and hold Jiang Peihuan, yet hesitated, fearing it would come off as impetuous. Amidst his dilemma, a voice echoed from the entrance of the courtyard. It was Jiang Changbai. Your Highness, King Cheng, it's a late hour and the dew is dense. Why aren't you in your Cheng mansion? Why are you here in my general's mansion? Could it be that my general's mansion possesses a unique charm? Indeed, the beauty of the general's mansion is truly unique, he agreed. Jiang Changbai had spoken those words on purpose, but to his surprise, Xiao Nani took them seriously and nodded. Hearing Xiao Nanya's agreement, Jiang Shangbai's eyes blazed with anger. Seeing Jiang Changbai about a step forward, Jiang Peihuan turned to Xiao Nani and said, It's late, Your Highness. Please return. Thank you for coming to inform me about today's matter. There's no need for thanks with me. Seeing Jiang Shangbai's scowl deepen, Xiao Nani murmured, Then, I'll take my leave now. Seeing Jiang Paihuan's nod of approval, the man swiftly departed. Watching his retreating figure, Jiang Changbai irritably took a seat opposite Jiang Peihuan. Huan Air, do you realize this could harm your reputation? You, big brother. Indeed, King Cheng had important news to share with me today. What important news? In Jiang Shangbai's mind, it seemed like an excuse from Xiao Nani. However, when he heard what Jiang Peihuan said next, he bolted upright. You, what did you just say? The Emperor is planning to bring me into the palace. He's of such a ripe age, and you're so young. How could he? Rage flared in Jiang Shangbai's eyes, but thinking of the Emperor's power, he closed his mouth in silence. Upon hearing this, a trace of sarcasm flashed in Jiang Paihuan's eyes. Perhaps the Emperor thinks of this as a gracious gift to the Jiang family. No, that can't happen. I won't let you enter the palace. I'm going to our parents right now. With those words, Jiang Changbai headed towards the exit, but Jiang Peihuan tugged at his sleeve. Big brother, it's late now. Our parents are resting. Even if we have to discuss this, it's better to wait till tomorrow. Looking at the darkened sky, Jiang Shangbai's eyes were filled with worry, but he nodded his agreement. Seeing his anxiety, Jiang Peihuan whispered, Don't worry, big brother. Maybe in a few days, the Emperor will change his mind. You make it sound so simple. Despite his complaints, Jiang Changbai eventually left at Jiang Paihuan's request. The following morning arrived quickly. A flurry of knocks on the door roused Jiang Peihuan from her slumber. Soon after, Yu Er stepped unbidden into her room. Miss, we have a decree from the palace, she announced. A decree? From whom? Asked Jiang Peihuan. The first thing that popped into her mind was what Xiao Nani had shared with her the previous night. The thought sent a jolt of adrenaline rushing through her, rousing her completely. However, Yu Er shook her head. Not sure yet. It's the Empress decree. She wants your mother to go to Kuan Ning Palace for a discussion. The Empress? Upon realizing it wasn't an order from the Emperor, Jiang Peihuan sighed in relief. But then, considering what was behind it all, her eyes flashed with urgency. Looking at Yu Er, she quickly commanded, "Hurry, help me get ready and let's go to Mother's place."
Yes.
After a short while, Jiang Peihuan, along with Yu Er, made their way to Yinlin where Jiang Hong and Jiang Changbai were present. Upon seeing Jiang Peihuan, Shui Yin instantly took her hand. "Huan Er, your elder brother has already informed us about the matter. Don't worry. Even if it means I have to die, I won't let you marry into the palace. Mother, if it means saving you, then I'd rather marry into the palace. Let's not rush." Jiang Hong interjected. "We still don't know the full story." He then addressed Shui Yin. "If the Empress brings up Huan Er, find an excuse to deflect it. Don't worry, I know what to do." The palace's guests were still waiting in the parlor, so after a brief exchange, Shui Yin proceeded to the carriage that would transport her to the palace. Looking at Shui Yin's back as she left, Jiang Peihuan's eyes filled with worry. The palace was a world beyond her control. In the imperial palace, "Madam, the carriage can only take you this far." Upon arrival at the palace gate, a young eunuch spoke to the carriage, and then Shui Yin lifted the curtain and held the servant girl's hand as she walked down. "Thank you, eunuch." As she spoke, her servant girl discreetly handed the eunuch a pouch. After weighing the pouch, a wider smile spread across the young eunuch's face. "I'll escort you to the Empress Kuan-Ning Palace," he declared, leading the way while Shui Yin, holding her servant's hand, followed. As she spoke, she walked forward. Shui Yin held the servant girl's hand and followed behind. Some time later, Shui Yin entered the Kuan-Ning Palace. Observing the Empress seated at her throne, Shui Yin advanced, knelt, and saluted. "Your servant pays respect to the Empress. Please rise, madam." The Empress was poised and majestic, appearing only in her early 30s despite her actual age of over 40, thanks to her excellent self-care routine. Upon seeing Shui Yin, the Empress greeted her with a warm smile. "Please be seated, madam. I invited you here today just for a friendly chat." "Thank you, Empress." With respect, Shui Yin took her seat and then asked, "May I know what the Empress wishes to discuss? I've heard that your eldest daughter, Miss Jiang, is endowed with beauty and talent. Does she have any marital arrangements yet?" Upon the Empress' mention of Jiang Peihuan, Shui Yin felt her heart skip a beat. Yet she replied calmly, "In response to the Empress, my daughter is yet to be married." Chapter 67. King Chang has arrived. The Empress was already aware of Jiang Peihuan's marital status, but formalities required her to ask. Once Shed heard Shui Yan's words, the Empress spoke directly. "I've heard that the eldest Miss Jiang is both graceful and brilliant. I've been contemplating finding someone for the Emperor who can truly understand him. It seems to me that Miss Jiang could be just the person." "Nyang, you are too generous. I must admit, my eldest daughter has been a troublemaker since young, and am afraid may not be able to serve the Emperor adequately," Shui Yin said modestly. Shui Yin hadn't anticipated the Empress would be so forthright. Stunned, she found herself sinking to her knees. Everyone in the harem was far from naive, particularly the Empress. Upon hearing Shui Yan's words, she instantly grasped their implications. She frowned, her gaze settling on Shui Yin with evident displeasure. "Are you implying that Madame Jiang does not wish for her daughter to join the palace?" "No, not at all, Nyang. It's just that my daughter may not be up to the task." "I fear that's enough, madam. No need for such empty excuses." The Empress cut Shui Yin off before she could finish, her gaze intense on the woman's pale face. Remembering her own daughter, she softened a bit. "You may rise now." "Thank you, Nyang." Once Shui Yin had regained her feet, the Empress spoke again. "Let me be honest with you. The reason for your summoning today was per the Emperor's wishes. I believe you are smart enough to understand the implications. Whatever was said here today will remain within these walls. Even if the Emperor inquires, I will protect you. But remember, if the Emperor issues a decree, I don't believe the Jiang family can afford to disobey." "Servant." At the Empress' call, a nanny entered the room. Upon her entry, The empress instructed her without hesitation, "Escort Madame Jiang out of the palace." "Of course, Nyang Nyang." The nanny turned to Shui Yin and said, "Madam, if you please, I shall take my leave now." After offering her respects to the empress, Shui Yin left the Kuan-Ning palace as soon as she stepped outside the palace gates. A chill ran down her spine, and cold sweat drenched her back. The emperor's resolve was clear from the empress' words. "Madam," the servant from the Jiang mansion were waiting at the palace gate. Upon seeing Shui Yin exit, they hurried to meet her. "Return to the mansion, quickly." Noticing Shui Yan's grave expression, the attendant of the Jiang mansion wasted no time in cracking his whip. As the carriage arrived at the entrance of the Jiang mansion, Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Changbai were seen standing there, waiting. "Mother, why aren't you three standing here?" Upon seeing her children, Shui Yin forced a smile. Although Shui Yin appeared cheerful, Jiang Peihuan noticed the icy chill of her mother's fingertips when she moved forward to steady her. With a concerned frown, she gently asked, "Mother, did you catch a chill on your journey here?" "It's nothing. Let's go inside and talk." Seeing the worried look in Jian Paihuan's eyes, Shui Yin patted her eldest daughter's hand. Outdoors, Shui Yin managed to hold herself together, but once they entered Yin Lin, her discomfort became apparent. Staring at Zhang Hong, seated at the head of the table, she voiced her dismay. "Brother Hong, the emperor is actually considering admitting Huan heir into the palace. How can he do this?" Hearing Shui Yan's words, a shadow crossed Zhang Hong's eyes, but he gripped Shui Yan's hand firmly. "Yin heir, don't fret. Until the emperor formally declares it, there's still hope." "But it seems like the empress believes the decree will come soon. Had I known this would happen, I wouldn't have surrendered the commander's seal." "Mother, be cautious. The walls have ears." When Shui Yin spoke without restraint, Jiang Peihuan quickly interrupted her. Realizing what she had just said, Shui Yin sighed heavily, slowly regaining her composure. Looking at her husband and eldest son, Shui Yin asked, "What do you think we should do?" "Father, mother, His Highness King Cheng also has feelings for sister." At this point, Jiang Xijin suddenly chimed in. Hearing this, Jiang Hong and Shui Yin involuntarily turned their gaze toward Jiang Peihuan, especially Shui Yin, whose eyes immediately took on a guarded expression. "Huan heir, what is Xijin suggesting with these words?" "It's a long story." Jiang Peihuan hadn't anticipated her sister would suddenly voice such a sentiment. After giving her a pointed look, she recounted her experience of falling into the water and Xiao Nanyes' marriage proposal. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, a spark ignited in Shui Yan's eyes. She turned to Jiang Hong and asked directly, "Brother Hong, you've had some interaction with King Cheng. What's your impression of him?" Hearing Shui Yan's question, Jiang Hong pondered a moment before responding, "My encounters with King Cheng have been limited, but from our conversations, he seems like a gentleman." "Father, some people aren't always as they appear on the surface." Jiang Changbai, who had been silent until now, couldn't help but murmur his disagreement with his father's assessment of Xiao Nani. Although his voice was soft, everyone in the living room, all being practitioners of martial arts, could hear him. Turning his gaze to Jiang Changbai, Jiang Hong frowned. "Changbai, it's not fair to make assumptions about others behind their backs. Why would you say such a thing?" IIJ2 Jiang Changbai wanted to reveal to his parents the incidents of Xiao Nanyes' late-night visits to Jiang Peihuan's room, but he hesitated, not wanting to get Peihuan into trouble. Instead, he voiced, "I've spotted him a few times, scaling our walls and entering our estate. Are you certain it was King Cheng?" Upon hearing Jiang Shangbai's words, Jiang Hong's eyes were filled with suspicion. In his understanding, King Cheng had always been a noble and cold person. How could such a person climb over a wall? It was not until later that Jiang Hong witnessed it himself, understanding how delicately his eldest son had put it. Seeing the skepticism in Jiang Hong's gaze, Jiang Changbai felt wounded. "Father, do you think I could mistake someone else for him?" "This? General, His Highness King Cheng has arrived." At this moment, Deputy General Liu's voice echoed from the entrance. Hearing this, Jiang Hong's eyes held a flicker of confusion. "Who did you say?" Shortly after, Xiao Nani sauntered into the Jiang mansion, followed by Han Feng. They carried dozens of large boxes. Witnessing this grand scene, Jiang Hong and Shui Yin exchanged glances, each mirroring the confusion in the other's eyes. Only Jiang Peihuan, her eyes held a hint of helplessness. She probably had an idea of the man's intention for this visit. "Greetings, great general." "Greetings, madam." Approaching Jiang Hong and Shui Yin, Xiaonani gave a slight nod. The pair hastily returned the formalities. "Your Highness, to what do we owe this visit today?" "I've come today to propose marriage. These are gifts I've brought for the young Mississippi. If you, the great general and first-rank lady, consent to betroth Peihuan to me, I will ensure more betrothal gifts are prepared." Chapter 68. I like Huan Air, Your Highness. This comes as quite a surprise. Jiang Hong started. "It's not sudden at all. When Great General and First Lady was up in the Northern Territories, I had already spoken to the old Madame Jiang about this. She just wanted to wait for your return to discuss the matter," Xiaonani explained. "And now that both you and your wife are back, it's only fitting that I'm here to talk about this proposed marriage." While Xiaonani spoke, his words were directed to Jiang Hong and his wife, but his eyes were irresistibly drawn towards Jiang Peihuan. Jiang Hong was no fool. He noticed the attention on his daughter. Somehow, it confirmed his eldest son's words. One shouldn't judge a person solely by their appearance. Clearing his throat, Jiang Hong shifted his attention to Jiang Peihuan. "Huan Air, please take your sister downstairs." "Yes, father," she replied. Upon hearing her father's words, Jiang Peihuan said nothing more. She bowed to both of them and proceeded to guide her sister out. But as she passed by Xiaonani, she caught his whisper, "I'll find you later." However, when she passed by the man, she heard a voice, "I'll look for you later." Jiang Peihuan quickly glanced at her parents, finding their expressions unchanged. That's when she realized that only she had heard Xiaonani's words. A hint of resignation in her eyes, she nodded politely to him before leaving. Once Jiang Peihuan was out of sight, the warmth in Xiaonani's gaze faded, replaced by his usual cool demeanor. "Your Highness, may I ask why you suddenly wish to marry my daughter?" Jiang Hong queried. "If this is about saving someone, it's unnecessary. We, the Jiangs, are from a military background. We don't fuss over formalities." "General, you're worrying too much," Xiaonani interjected, his eyes steady on the couple. "If I don't care for someone, their life or death wouldn't matter to me. So my visit today isn't about following protocols. It's because I have taken a liking to Huan Air. I like her, hence I want her as my wife. And I've decided, in this lifetime, Huan Air will be the only woman for me. She will be the sole queen of Cheng Mansion. No other woman will take her place." Xiaonani's soft words were crystal clear in the ears of the Jiang family. Both Jiang Hong and his wife, Shui Yin, looked stunned, as did their son, Jiang Changbai. Initially, Shui Yin was slightly discontent, but after hearing Xiaonani's candid confession, all dissatisfaction dissipated. She could clearly see the genuine affection in Xiaonani's eyes. This man, indeed, loved her daughter. Yet, considering the day's events, worry clouded Shui Yan's gaze. "Your Highness, perhaps you are unaware that the Emperor wishes to take Huan Air into the palace." "I'll deal with my royal brother," Xiaonani responded immediately. This statement caused a spark of hope to flare in Shui Yan's eyes. She looked at Xiaonani earnestly. "King Cheng, do you possess a means to dissuade the Emperor from this intention?" "Yes, I do." "How do you plan to do it, Your Highness?" Jiang Changbai interjected. Meeting Jiang Shangbai's gaze, Xiaonani said simply, "By marrying Huan Air, she won't have to enter the palace." Jiang Changbai was tempted to voice his thoughts, but when it came to choosing between entering the palace or marrying into the Cheng Mansion, his preference leaned towards the latter. Xiaonani shifted his gaze towards Jiang Hong, expressing with utmost sincerity, "Great General, my purpose for this visit is to pose a question. Are you in agreement with my marriage proposal?" On hearing Xiaonani's words, Jiang Hong sank into a contemplative silence. Under usual circumstances, he wouldn't have consented. However, given the current predicament, he was left with no room for alternatives. Despite this, while looking at Xiaonani, he asked coolly, "Your Highness, can you genuinely assure to cherish Huan Air?" Xiao Nani solemnly vowed, I swear upon my life, should I ever be unfaithful to Huan Er, may I perish gruesomely. All right, given your readiness to make such a solemn promise, I accept this marriage proposal. I will personally explain the situation to the emperor. That won't be necessary. Upon hearing Jiang Hong's words, Xiao Nani responded in a subdued tone. His demeanor towards Jiang Hong softened appreciably. After all, there weren't many ministers bold enough to defy the emperor for their daughter's sake. Confronted by Jiang Hong's puzzled expression, Xiao Nani clarified calmly, my elder brother, the emperor, knows about this situation. It's just my impulsiveness, recklessness even. He won't hold it against me. But if you were to voice it, great general, it would be considered defiance of the imperial decree, which would not bode well for the Jiang family. Now that both you, great general, and your wife have given your consent, I shall proceed to the palace. Please prepare to receive the royal decree. Having said this, Xiao Nani departed. However, he didn't leave the general's mansion, instead making his way to the plum garden. Plum garden. Eldest sister, in my opinion, you and King Cheng seem well matched, ventured Jiang Xijin. Xiao Nani intended to walk in, but upon hearing Jiang Xijin's statement, he instinctively halted, curious to hear Jiang Paihuan's thoughts. Subsequently, the woman's gentle voice echoed, how are we a match? Eldest sister, you exude nobility and grace, while King Cheng possesses an unmatched charm. Together, you make a pair of exceptional couple. Thank you, third miss, for your kind words. I share the same sentiment, responded Xiao Nani. Just as Jiang Peihuan was about to speak, she heard a voice behind her. Turning around, she saw the man standing at the doorway. Catching her eye, the man advanced slowly. Third miss, might I speak privately with your elder sister? King Cheng, as you wish. I'll take my leave. Jiang Xijin responded, curtsying to Xiao Nani before cheerfully darting away. Watching the younger girl's retreating figure, Jiang Peihuan shook her head in mild exasperation. As she turned to face the man, she spoke softly. Xijin still carries the impetuousness of youth. Your Highness, please don't take it to heart. I find third misstatement rather insightful. I've recently asked for your hand from your parents. Your father has given his consent for our marriage. How can this be? Seeing Jiang Paihuan's surprised expression, Xiao Nani's eyes gleamed with a hint of pride. If this were before, your father wouldn't have agreed so readily. But now, as long as I demonstrate sincerity, he will surely agree. But even if my father agrees, what about the emperor? Don't worry, I'll handle that. Seeing the concern in her eyes, the man unexpectedly reached out and gently touched her head. The man swiftly withdrew his palm, but its warmth seemed to linger. Jiang Peihuan subconsciously lifted her head. You, Huan Er, I have feelings for you. Looking into her eyes, he said softly, each word pronounced distinctly. Why? Even as the man's eyes held an ocean of gentleness, she still dared not believe. In her past life, she had given everything for Xiao Juanhao, only to be met with the total destruction of her family. In this life, she had no deep ties with this man, yet he claimed to have feelings for her. Jiang Paihuan's eyes filled with bewilderment. For some reason, seeing her like this stirred a strange ache in Xiao Nani's heart. He stretched out his arms, holding her gently. There's no why. I just do. I simply have feelings for you. Chapter 69. Entering the palace, Jiang Peihuan had convinced herself that she would no longer harbor feelings for sweet nothings of love in this lifetime. Yet upon hearing, I have feelings for you, her heart unexpectedly fluttered. When she was hugged by Xiao Nani, she could scent the crisp fragrance wafting from him, a scent that she found oddly captivating. She couldn't resist reaching out, but even before her hand touched Xiao Nani, he released her. Meeting her gaze, he smiled softly, his eyes brimming with mirth. Huan Er, I know you aren't in love with me yet, but it's all right. They'll gradually make you fall for me. Hearing his words, Jiang Peihuan fell silent. After a significant pause, she looked at the man before her and asked, Is there anything you need me to do regarding this matter? No, there's no need. Locking eyes with her, Xiaonani went on. You don't have to do anything. The mere opportunity for me to love you is more than enough. Xiaonani didn't linger much longer. After exchanging a few words with Jiang Peihuan, he promptly left the general's mansion. Watching the man's retreating figure, Jiang Peihuan's eyes held a hint of complexity, yet there was an inexplicable happiness tugging at her heart. Could he be different? Master, where are we going now? As soon as he saw Xiaonani emerge, Han Feng quickly approached. To the palace. Leaving these words behind, Xiaonani hopped on Zhue Yun, directing it towards the palace. Xiaonani headed straight for the Palace of Heavenly Purity, but Emperor Qi Ming was absent. Learning that the emperor had visited the Empress Kuaning Palace, Xiaonani promptly rerouted to the Empress Kuaning Palace in Kuaning Palace. As the empress was about to discuss Jiang Peihuan with the emperor, she heard her maid announce King Cheng's arrival. Before the empress had a chance to speak, Emperor Qi Ming chuckled. What brings the young man here? Xiaonani strode into the room. Emperor Qi Ming and the empress were preparing for their meal. Seeing the array of dishes on the table, Xiaonani pulled out a chair and sat down. He looked at the empress and said, Imperial sister-in-law, I've always heard about the delightful food in your palace. I finally got the chance to join today. You can't possibly send me away. Hearing Xiaonani's words, a gentle smile formed on the empress' face. You're a grown man, yet you behave like a child. She then directed her gaze at a palace maid. Quickly, bring a set of bowls and chopsticks for King Cheng. Shortly after, a clean pair of bowls and chopsticks was placed before Xiaonani. Once Emperor Qi Ming picked up his chopsticks, Xiaonani started eating. He ate carelessly as if he was in his own home. Even after Emperor Qi Ming and the empress had finished eating, he continued to eat a few more bites. Having finished his meal, Xiaonani grinned. The food here indeed tastes wonderful. If you enjoy it, feel free to visit every day. Anything you wish to eat, I'll have it prepared. That might not work. It's fine to freeload occasionally, but if I come daily, the emperor might chase me away. You're talking nonsense. When have I ever chased you out? You never have, yet. Who knows about the future? You. Enough. Leave now. You're giving me a headache. Imperial sister-in-law, see? The emperor is indeed starting to chase me away. The empress laughed upon hearing this, but chose to remain silent. While others might not understand, she knew better than anyone the level of affection and indulgence the emperor had for his younger brother. After the palace maids and servants cleared away the food, the empress summoned for tea. After a sip of tea, Xiaonani turned to Emperor Qi Ming. Imperial brother, I heard Zhang Hong willingly surrendered his command seal? Correct. The emperor wasn't surprised that Xiaonani knew this, as he was the one who spread the news. Hearing Emperor Qi Ming's words, Xiaonani casually replied, It appears that Zhang Hong is indeed devoted to you. I truly appreciate his loyalty. By the way, I am considering bringing Zhang Hong's eldest daughter into the palace. What's your opinion on this? As he spoke, Emperor Qi Ming's gaze fell on Xiaonani. Hearing the emperor's words, Xiaonani's fingers subtly brushed his cup before responding, I'm not particularly keen on the idea. Why? Upon hearing Xiaonani's response, Emperor Qi Ming quirked an eyebrow. If you genuinely want me to express my thoughts, I will, Imperial brother. But remember, if I say something you disagree with, you can't blame me. When have you ever been so timid in my presence, you little bastard? Imperial brother, you are still young and in your prime. By bringing Zhang Hong's eldest daughter into the palace and potentially having her bear a prince, don't you worry that the Jiang family could be swept into a battle for the throne? Upon hearing these words, Emperor Qi Ming's brow furrowed. After a moment of silence, he turned to Xiaonani. And what if I don't allow her the chance to have a child? If Zhang Hong's eldest daughter doesn't bear a prince, it could potentially avoid the conflict, to an extent. But the moment Zhang Hong's eldest daughter entered the palace, the Jiang family became unavoidably entangled with the royal family. Regardless of whether there's a prince or not, they could still choose sides, couldn't they? Therefore, Imperial brother, the best strategy might be to separate the Jiang family from the royal family. Your point isn't wrong, but this would result in the Jiang family escaping my control. Imperial brother, your intention to bring Zhang Hong's eldest daughter into the palace, Was it primarily to keep a handle on Jiang Hong? Precisely. Seeing Emperor Qi Ming's affirmation, Xiao Nani proceeded, in that case, you could simply grant me the privilege to marry Jiang Hong's eldest daughter. To grant you a marriage? At Xiao Nanya's suggestion, Emperor Qi Ming was stunned. If it weren't for the candid look in Xiao Nanya's eyes, he would have suspected a scheme at play. Yet, even so, Emperor Qi Ming regarded Xiao Nani with a hint of uncertainty. Why would you want to marry Jiang Hong's daughter? It's not that I desire to marry Jiang Hong's daughter, rather, I wish to assist you, imperial brother. In response to Emperor Qi Ming's puzzled expression, Xiao Nani narrated how he had saved Jiang Peihuan, then continued, everyone under the heavens knows I am your blood brother, and in many ways, I am a representation of you. Thus, if I marry the eldest daughter of the Jiang family, the family would still remain within your grasp, imperial brother. Plus, this would also mean that the Jiang family would lose their chance to meddle with imperial power. Upon hearing Xiao Nanya's words, Emperor Qi Ming fell deep in thought. Xiao Nani stayed silent, occasionally glancing at the emperor with subtle unease. After an indefinite period, Emperor Qi Ming turned to Xiao Nani. Tell me honestly, do you have any other motives besides wanting to assist me? Heh. Meeting Emperor Qi Ming's gaze, Xiao Nani chuckled, his smile sycophantic. Then, he spoke in a hushed tone. I've seen the eldest daughter of the Jiang family. She's rather fetching. You. Emperor Qi Ming pointed at Xiao Nani and huffed with vexation. Enough already. You're not wrong in this. I will issue a decree to grant the eldest daughter of the Jiang family to you as your wife. Chapter 70. Bestowed marriage, you brat. It seems I haven't spoiled you for nothing all these years. Towards the end of his words, Emperor Qi Ming's gaze on Xiao Nani softened. Xiao Nani rose from his chair, finishing the tea in front of him with a swift gulp. He then addressed Emperor Qi Ming. If my imperial brother feels guilty, he can always give me more jewels. You brats still dare to say. You're on the verge of emptying my private treasury. I don't care. I take it as consent from my imperial brother. With a casual wave to Emperor Qi Ming, Xiao Nani strode towards the exit. Watching his retreating figure, a helpless look flashed in Emperor Qi Ming's eyes. Shortly after, the Empress approached and sat beside him. Watching the Empress take her seat, Emperor Qi Ming murmured, let's drop the idea of bringing the eldest daughter of the Jiang family to the palace. Why would your majesty suddenly change his mind? Hearing Emperor Qi Ming's words, the Empress appeared startled. The Emperor uttered a few words and then calmly declared, I've decided to grant Jiang Hong's eldest daughter to Nani as his principal wife. Following your majesty's words, we ought to prepare a generous wedding gift for the young man. Emperor Qi Ming acted quickly. That very night, the Jiang residents received a decree from the palace. Wang Kuan personally delivered and announced the decree. Surveying the Jiang family members kneeling on the floor, he unfurled the decree. It's known that the general's eldest daughter is exceptionally wise, a model among young ladies. Hence, today, Jiang Peihuan, the eldest daughter of the Jiang family, is bestowed to King Cheng as his principal wife. The wedding is to be held in 3 months' time. Upon hearing the words bestowed to King Cheng as the principal wife, Jiang Peihuan's heart began to pound wildly. Jiang Hong and his wife, Shui Yin, however, breathed a sigh of relief. Apart from those of the first branch, everyone in the Jiang family displayed surprise initially, but then their faces lit up with smiles. However, among them, Zhou Rongfang was an exception. Seeing the imperial messenger beaming at the members of the first branch, jealousy flashed in her eyes. Eunuch Wang, thank you for taking the trouble to come here. You must be tired. Please come inside for some tea. Jiang Hong approached Wang Kuan, a smile gracing his lips. The great general is too kind. The emperor is awaiting my return to report back. Then, please allow me to send you off. As he spoke, Jiang Hong moved forward, his hand closing around Wang Kun's. In a seamless movement, he slid a small pouch into Wang Kun's hand. Wang Kuan weighed the pouch. It was nearly weightless. Clearly, it contained banknotes. He stuffed the pouch into his sleeve, and the smile in his eyes became even brighter. Great general. They'll return to the palace now. Once the palace members departed, Zhang Hong turned to his wife and said, Yin heir, you can rest assured now. The imperial decree has been issued. Huan heir won't be entering the palace. Enter the palace? What palace? Zhang Hong's voice was barely a whisper, yet Zhou Rongfang managed to catch it. She started mumbling to herself, voicing her confusion. Zhang Hong frowned upon hearing this. Seeing his two younger brothers' eyes on him, he decided to clarify the situation. The revelation left everyone present with looks of surprise. Only Lu Xiu, looking at Shui Yin with a full-face smile, said, Sister-in-law, judging by all this, King Qing genuinely cherishes Huan heir. If Huan heir truly becomes part of King Chen household in the future, I'm sure King Cheng will treat her kindly. Hearing Lu Xiu's words cased some of the worry from Shui Yan's heart. But before she could respond, Zhou Rongfang interjected, King Cheng is the emperor's uncle, and Huan's marriage was called off by Huainan Mansion. Moreover, Huan's future childbirth will be difficult. Shut up! Jiang Yuan snapped, interrupting Zhou Rongfang. His eyes filled with icy disdain. Zhang Hong had always been tolerant of his sister-in-law for his brother Jiang Yuan's sake. But Zhou Rongfang's words caused an unpleasant expression to creep onto his face. Finding it inappropriate to lash out at a woman, he directed his ire towards his younger brother, Jiang Yuan. If you can't control your wife, you'd better resign from your position and come home before you bring misfortune upon the Jiang family. Big brother. I'm sorry, Jiang Yuan said, his eyes filled with remorse. Zhou Rongfang, on the other hand, looked resentful. Ignoring Jiang Yuan's attempts to restrain her, she retorted, Uncle, there's no need to defend Jiang Yuan. Everything I've said is true. If you don't believe me. Ah, a crisp slap echoed through the room. Jiang Paihuan's eyes brimmed with a cold fury. However, she held her tongue in front of the family elders. As she struggled to contain her anger, she saw her mother stride forward and deliver a sharp slap to Zhou Rongfang's face. Despite their private disputes, physical altercations were unheard of among the Jiang family. Zhou Rongfang, her hand on her reddening cheek, stood there stunned. Coming back to her senses, she lunged at Shui Yin. You, Shui, dare to hit me? Who do you think you are? You have the audacity to harm my Huan heir? They'll make you pay for it today, retorted Shui Yin. Having been trained in martial arts since her childhood, Shui Yin found Zhou Rongfang an easy opponent. She firmly grasped Zhou Rongfang's hand, striking her several more times with her free hand. Before long, the vivid imprint of 5 fingers appeared on Zhou Rongfang's face. Shui Yin, with a forceful push, sent Zhou Rongfang sprawling to the ground. Driven to the brink of madness, Zhou Rongfang picked herself up from the floor, her eyes wild with rage as she lunged at Shui Yin. Witnessing this scene, Jiang Peihuan could hold back no longer. She stepped forward, placing herself between Zhou Rongfang and Shui Yin. Second aunt, isn't this too much? She protested. Too much? Zhou Rongfang retorted, her voice heavy with sarcasm. Jiang Peihuan, didn't you see it was your mother who threw the first blow? Or have you become so arrogant, now that you're to be a queen, that you think you can disregard your elders? Her eyes filled with derision. Zhou Rongfang's last words stung Jiang Peihuan. Looking at Zhou Rongfang, Jiang Paihuan's already darkened expression became even more severe. She said coldly, Second aunt, I didn't intend to expose your plot against me to second uncle. But now, there's no point in hiding it anymore. Meeting her gaze, Jian Paihuan's already ugly expression turned even uglier. She looked at Zhou Rongfang and said coldly, Second aunt, I didn't plan to tell second uncle that you framed me. Now it seems that there's no need to hide it for you. Plot? What plot? Jiang Yuan interjected, his face showing confusion and concern. When he heard Jiang Peihuan mention a plot, he spoke out. Turning to him, Jiang Peihuan laid out the whole story of the past rumors and added, So, it was second aunt's scheming that led the Huainan mansion to dissolve their engagement with me. Looking at Jiang Yuan, Jian Peihuan directly told him about the rumors and then continued, So, the reason why the Huainan mansion came to break off the engagement was planned by second aunt. Zhou Rongfang, is what Peihuan said true? Jiang Yuan's voice was thick with disbelief and shock. had always known Zhou Rongfang to be somewhat difficult, but had never imagined she could be so malicious, especially towards her own niece. Anger burned in Jiang Yuan's eyes. Facing his gaze, Zhou Rongfang showed a flicker of panic. However, considering Jiang Yuan's usual concessions towards her, she hardened her stance and retorted defiantly, "So what if it's true? If it weren't for me, could she have married King Cheng today?" Chapter 71. Want to divorce you? Shock and disbelief flooded Jiang Yuan's eyes at Zhou Rongfang's words. His gaze shifted toward her, carrying an unfamiliar undertone. The room sank into silence. Suddenly, Jiang Yuan addressed Zhou Rongfang. "Forget it. I realize now that I'm powerless. Given that, you should leave." Though Jiang Yuan's voice was soft, every onlooker could hear it clearly. Zhou Rongfang froze in surprise, and Jiang Peihuan, upon hearing his words, revealed a startled expression. She had an inkling about what Jiang Yuan was implying as expected. "Jiang Yuan, what exactly are you saying?" "My intent is clear. I'm giving you a divorce letter. Once you accept it, you're free to leave Jiang Mansion and me." "You, what did you just say?" Zhou Rongfang paled instantly at Jiang Yuan's words. She gazed at him in shock, as if he was a stranger to her. After his declaration, Jiang Yuan seemed to breathe easier. Meeting Zhou Rongfang's stunned expression, he repeated, "I said, I want a divorce from you. You, Jiang Yuan, you heartless man. How dare you consider divorcing me?" Enraged, Zhou Rongfang lunged at Jiang Yuan, relentlessly attacking him. Jiang Yuan, a martial artist, easily evaded her strikes, not fighting back. Soon, scratches marred his face, inflicted by Zhou Rongfang's frantic onslaught. "What is going on?" Old Madame Jiang had been awaiting news in the Chrysanthemum Hall, receiving none for quite some time. She had no choice but to lean on Nanny Zu's arm and move to the front hall, where she walked into the ongoing commotion. The sight of Jiang Yuan's scratched face caused the old madam to glower at Zhou Rongfang. "Rongfang, what are you doing?" "Mother, he is driving me to my death." Hearing the old madam's voice, Zhou Rongfang ceased her assault, but fell to her knees, sobbing in front of old Madame Jiang. Seeing Zhou Rongfang's tear-streaked face, old Madame Jiang frowned but spoke gently. "If you have grievances, voice them properly. What is the use of this crying?" "Mother, Jiang Yuan wants to divorce me." This news caused the old madam to raise her eyebrows in surprise. She knew her second son well. Despite his stern nature, he was fundamentally kind-hearted. Turning to Jiang Yuan, the old madam inquired softly, "Jiang Yuan, is this true?"
Yes.
"Mother, you heard him. He indeed wants to divorce me. He's driving me to suicide. I might as well die now. If you indeed wish to die, I can arrange for someone to fetch a rope right now." Old Madame Jiang cut off Zhou Rongfang's dramatic outcry. Under her fierce gaze, Zhou Rongfang dared not say more, only crying quietly. Old Madame Jiang surveyed the room, her gaze finally settling on Jiang Peihuan. "Huan heir, enlighten me. What exactly transpired here?" "Grandmother, to be precise, all this started because of me," confessed Jiang Peihuan. She recounted everything from start to finish. When Jiang Peihuan spoke of Zhou Rongfang's actions, old Madame Jiang looked at her with an icy demeanor. However, while addressing Jiang Yuan, she continued to defend Zhou Rongfang. "You've been warring abroad for years, and it was your wife who managed the household in your absence. Now, on your return, you wish to part ways with her. How does that make any sense?" "Mother, is it truly her?" Jiang Yuan wanted to reprimand Zhou Rongfang for her excessive actions, but when he thought about her years of toil and dedication, he ended up not voicing any complaints. As the old madam praised her efforts, Zhou Rongfang's sobs grew even more sorrowful. Having addressed Jiang Yuan, old Madame Jiang shifted her attention towards Zhou Rongfang. "Enough. No more tears. Every action has its consequence. You must be aware of the amount of work Huan heir has put in. You need not be grateful to her, but if you had even a shred of conscience, you wouldn't slander her this way. Is it because Huan heir didn't please you, while Riyun did?" Upon hearing old Madame Jiang's words, guilt swam in Zhou Rongfang's eyes. Her daughter's life was virtually in shambles. Yet, after Jiang Paihuan's betrothal was cancelled, she could joyously become a princess. How is that fair? Huan Er shares the surname Jiang, and so does Ruyun. Even Huan Er understands the principle of shared honor and disgrace. Have you lived these many years in vain? Mother, I realize my mistakes. Jiang Yuan, you've been at war for countless years. Regardless of your wife's wrongdoings, you owe her. If you truly wish for a divorce, discuss it with her. If she consents, I won't interfere. But if she declines, you have no right to insist. Have you understood my words? Yes, I understand, Mother. Huan Er, will you escort me back? Old Madame Jiang's gaze rested on each individual before finally settling on Jiang Peihuan. Upon hearing her request, Jiang Peihuan moved forward to support her. Upon reaching the chrysanthemum hall, Jiang Peihuan knelt down before the old madam. Seeing this, the old madam promptly spoke. Huan Er, what on earth are you doing? Stand up at once. Grandmother, I've been too petty. Hearing Jiang Paihuan's words, a twinge of sadness entered the old madam's eyes. She personally helped Jiang Peihuan up and gestured her to sit by her side. Then, she spoke in a gentle tone. If you call yourself petty, then isn't everyone in this world a saint? Huan Er, if I could, I would rather you were more like Si Jin, more naive. You're intelligent and steadfast, which can be exhausting over time. When King Chang brought up the marriage proposal, I assumed he was speaking casually. I didn't think he was truly fond of you. Huan Er, out of everyone, I worry about you the most. Grandmother, there's no need to worry. Huan Er can take care of herself. Jiang Peihuan lowered herself gently, resting her head against old Madame Jiang Ni. The old madam hand smoothed her long hair. After a considerable pause, she spoke softly. King Cheng may seem prestigious, but he is also a nuisance to many. Marrying him won't guarantee your peaceful days ahead. Grandmother, I have faith in him. Recalling his words, Jiang Peihuan, lying on the old madam lap, whispered. While the Jiang mansion was in chaos, a storm was brewing in the palace. At Sinang Palace, Emperor, you are indeed audacious to have Jiang Hong's eldest daughter betrothed to Xiao Nanik. What were you thinking? Grand Empress Dowager, eyes filled with restrained fury, questioned Emperor Qi Ming. Bewildered by her words, he asked, Mother, is there something improper? Indeed, it is. Given Jiang Hong's distinctive status, binding him to Xiao Nanik would make Nani your arch-nemesis in the future. Mother, why do you harbor such a strong prejudice against Nani? It's not about me taking issue with him. It's about you pampering and overindulging him too much. Chapter 72. Xiao Nani must be eliminated, I must admit. I have indeed spoiled Nani a bit, but he has never taken undue advantage to do anything outrageous. Isn't his behavior outrageous enough already? Are all those tales of his audacity and arrogance untrue? Had Emperor Qi Ming not brought it up, things might have been better. But at his words, the Grand Empress Dowager's eyes flashed with anger. She wanted to reveal that Xiao Nani was not the late emperor's true son, but she couldn't. Questioning Xiao Nany's lineage equated to questioning the previous emperor, an affront to the imperial family. This had to be dealt with discreetly, not publicly. Emperor Qi Ming couldn't fathom why the Grand Empress Dowager disapproved of Xiao Nani. He presumed it was out of fear. After a moment of contemplation, he said quietly, Mother, I've watched Nani grow up. I trust his character. For my sake, please don't give him a hard time. I have already decreed the marriage, so the matter will not change. After making this declaration, Emperor Qi Ming left the Grand Empress Dowager's Sinang Palace promptly. As he walked away, the Grand Empress Dowager turned visibly pale. The old nanny nearby quickly moved closer. Grand Empress, please look after your health. You saw how much the Emperor guards that miscreant. I can't wait any longer. I must hasten to eliminate him before he becomes a catastrophe. Send him a message. Xiao Nani must be eliminated within the next 3 months. Grand Empress, he is the only one left in King Cheng's mansion loyal to us. Are you sure you want to employ him? As long as I can kill Xiao Nani, I don't care about anything else." Upon hearing the Grand Empress Dowager's words, the old nanny quietly left the Sinang Palace. General Mansion. In the Plum Garden. Elder sister, why are you up so early? It was barely dawn, but Jiang Sijin noticed that Jiang Paihuan's clothes were completely soaked in sweat. Noticing Jiang Sijin approaching, Jiang Peihuan stowed away the long whip she had been holding. She accepted a handkerchief from Jiang Sijin, dabbed the sweat off her forehead, then asked softly, "Why are you here so early?" "Mother sent me to find you. She mentioned that we are going out today." On hearing this, Jiang Peihuan nodded. She hadn't slept a wink the previous night, her mind awash with turmoil. In her restlessness, she had decided to practice martial arts, which had resulted in her current sweaty state. Interestingly, the exercise seemed to ease some of her tension. "Miss, I have prepared some hot water for you. You should quickly freshen up and change into clean clothes," Yue urged as soon as Jiang Peihuan stepped inside the house. "All right." After acknowledging Yue, Jiang Peihuan turned to Jiang Sijin and inquired, "Do you know where Mother plans to take us?" "I'm not sure. Mother didn't say anything. She just instructed us to be ready to leave." "Fine. Wait for me for a bit. We'll join Mother for breakfast." "Got it. Third miss, please have some pastries while you wait." After Jiang Peihuan disappeared into the bathroom, Yue brought a tray of pastries and tea for Jiang Sijin. "Thank you, Sister Yue." After expressing her gratitude to Yue, Jiang Sijin began to munch on the pastries happily. By the time Jin Peihuan came out of the bathroom, Jiang Sijin had already devoured every last pastry from the tray. Giving her a look, Jiang Peihuan couldn't resist teasing, "You've gobbled up so many pastries. Will you still have room for breakfast?" HCHC. Sister Yue's pastries are just too delicious to resist. With a playful smile in response to Jiang Paihuan's teasing, Jiang Sijin stepped forward and wrapped her arm around her sister's. A hint of amused resignation flashed in Jiang Paihuan's eyes. She reached out and lightly tapped Jiang Sijin's forehead. "Oh, you." When they arrived at Yinlin, Shuiyin had already neatly packed up. Apart from Shuiyin, Lu Xiu was also present. "Third aunt, what brings you to Mother's place today?" At Jiang Sijin's question, Lu Xiu simply smiled without answering, turning her gaze to Jiang Peihuan. Confusion filled Jiang Peihuan's eyes. Upon seeing this, Shuiyin intervened. "Let's have breakfast first. We can talk more afterwards." Shortly after breakfast, Shuiyin and Lu Xiu led Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Sijin outside. While the carriage was moving, Shuiyin turned to Jiang Peihuan and said, "Since you and King Cheng have already set a wedding date, your dowry should be prepared sooner rather than later. I have been traveling with your father these past years and have neglected to prepare your dowry. Now, we will have to purchase ready-made items." Dowries for noble daughters are typically prepared from a young age. However, Shuiyin had been accompanying Jiang Hong in his travels and battles, causing her to overlook this tradition. Upon remembering this, guilt shimmered in Shuiyin's eyes. Seeing the hint of worry in Shuiyin's eyes, Jiang Peihuan reached out to reassure her. "Mother, there's no need to be anxious. We still have 3 months. We'll manage everything in time." "Indeed, sister-in-law. If we can't accumulate enough, I can always pick some things from my dowry," she added casually. "What nonsense. You still have Songbai. How could you possibly take from your own dowry?" "My dear sister-in-law, you're well aware of my situation. I don't have much, but am not short on gold and silver. Although Huan isn't my biological child, she shares a strong bond with Songbai, and I've watched her grow up." "Third aunt, does that mean you'll also prepare a dowry for me?" Jiang Sijin chimed in with a playful grin after hearing the exchange between Lu Xiu and Shuiyin. Her comment lightened the mood, eliciting laughter from everyone in the carriage. Shuiyin, albeit slightly annoyed, reassured her, "Your father and I wouldn't dare shortchange your dowry." "Huh. Of course not. After all, who could ever complain about having too much money?" "You're absolutely right, dear. Don't worry. When it's your turn to get married, third aunt will certainly prepare a hefty dowry for you." Despite the fact that the marriage had been bestowed, Jiang Peihuan hadn't truly felt its reality until now. Hearing Shuiyin and the others discuss these arrangements touched her in a way she hadn't anticipated. Their carriage then came to a halt. "We've arrived at the treasure pavilion, madam," announced a servant from outside. "All right, let's head into the treasure pavilion first." At Shui Yan's command, Jiang Xijin was the first to hop off the carriage, followed by Jiang Peihuan. Once they'd assisted Shui Yan and Lu Xiu down from the carriage, the group of four headed into the treasure pavilion together. Since it was still early, the pavilion wasn't crowded. Nevertheless, Jiang Peihuan instantly noticed Lin Mingyao, who stood by a cabinet. Upon hearing their entrance, Lin Mingyao turned to look at the doorway. Seeing Jiang Peihuan, her eyes briefly sparkled before she greeted them with a warm smile. "Greetings, madam. And who might this be?" Shui Yin watched Lin Mingyao, curiosity reflected in her eyes. Jiang Xijin stepped up to clarify, "Mother, this is Miss Lin, the daughter of General Lin Ruhai." Upon hearing the name Lin Ruhai, a flash crossed Shui Yan's eyes. However, she smiled at Lin Mingyao and said, "Miss Lin, there's no need to be overly formal. Sister-in-law, this white jade necklace is quite remarkable." Chapter 73. It was something Jiang Peihuan did not want. Lu Xiu, hailing from a merchant background, had a habitual knack for observing merchandise in each shop she entered. It was this very habit that led her to notice the white jade necklace that Mingyao Lin had just set aside. The necklace was predominantly gold, but the quality of the white jade adorning it was commendable. "You've grown accustomed to exquisite things since childhood," she mused. "If you say it's a good piece, then it surely must be." Having spoken, Shui Yin turned to the approaching shopkeeper. "How much for this necklace?" "The madam has a discerning eye," complimented the shopkeeper. "This white jade necklace is a new addition to our shop, retailing at 5,000 taels. 5,000 taels? Shui Yin, a military general by origin, was no stranger to the value of jewelry, yet market prices remained somewhat foreign to her. The quoted price startled her. She then shifted her attention to Lu Xiu. Reading Shui Yan's surprise, Lu Xiu responded with a smile. "Shopkeeper, this white jade necklace, though of fine quality, isn't quite worth 5,000 taels. Let's settle at 4,500 taels. We have quite a few items on our shopping list today. A bit of a discount would be appreciated." "In that case, let's follow the price madam said," the shopkeeper conceded. "Madam Jiang, my young lady was the first one to lay eyes on this necklace," a voice suddenly interjected. The speaker was Bao Wan, Lin Mingyao's maid. Shui Yin and Lu Xiu both looked at Lin Mingyao on hearing this. "Bao Wan, mind your manners," Lin Mingyao chided her maid before turning to Shui Yin and offering, "I sincerely apologize." Although Lin Mingyao's words suggested an apology, her eyes revealed not a trace of genuine remorse. She had been drawn to this necklace from the moment she walked in, but a price tag of 5,000 taels seemed a tad steep for her. However, she was willing to part with 4,500 taels. At her words, Shui Yan's eyebrows knitted together in a frown. Just as she was about to voice her thoughts, her eldest daughter tugged at her sleeve. Jiang Peihuan, having glanced at Lin Mingyao, spoke in a nonchalant tone. Since Miss Lin set her heart on it first, it should rightfully be hers. Once done, Jiang Peihuan addressed Shui Yin and Lu Xiu. "Mother, third aunt, let's browse for other items. This necklace doesn't quite appeal to me." "All right, if you don't fancy it, we shall look for something else. Sister-in-law, how about we visit Linglong Pavilion next door?" Lu Xiu suggested in a soft voice. Lu Xiu said softly. With a nod, Shui Yin prepared to exit. However, she was halted by the shopkeeper behind her. "Madam, please hold on a moment." The shopkeeper glanced at the white jade necklace, then whispered, "Madam, we have another necklace in our shop. Its quality surpasses this white jade one. Would you care to see it? Superior quality? Bring it to me." "Please wait a moment, madam." Upon seeing the contents of the box, a flicker of surprise crossed Jiang Peihuan's eyes. Looking at the things in the box, Jian Peihuan's eyes flashed with surprise. The necklace was also crafted from gold, but it was embellished with blood-red jade. A large ruby hung from the pendant at the bottom. Upon seeing the necklace, Jiang Peihuan instinctively looked at her own ruby ring. The colors seemed to match quite well. This necklace is indeed remarkable. Having seen many fine items before, Lu Xiu couldn't hide a hint of astonishment when she saw this necklace. Shui Yin also found the necklace beautiful, but she turned to Zhang Peihuan, asking softly, Huan Air, do you fancy this necklace? Yes, I rather like it. If you like it, then mother will buy it for you. Seeing Zhang Peihuan nod, Shui Yin beamed at the shopkeeper. Shopkeeper, could you wrap this necklace for me? Hearing Shui Yan's words, a subtle smile surfaced on Zhang Peihuan's lips. Mother, you haven't asked the shopkeeper the price of this necklace. No matter the cost, if you like it, mother will buy it for you. Shopkeeper, wrap it up? Yes, madam. A broad smile spread across the shopkeeper's face. After packing the box, he turned to Shui Yin. Madam, this necklace is a bit pricier than the white jade one. It will cost 6,000 taels. Very well. Nodding, Shui Yin took out several banknotes and handed them to the shopkeeper. After receiving the items from the shopkeeper, Shui Yin turned to Zhang Peihuan. Huan Air, is there anything else you're interested in? No more. Upon hearing Shui Yan's words, Zhang Peihuan shook her head. Seeing her response, Shui Yin smiled. That's fine. Let's visit the neighboring Linglong Pavilion. All right. Shui Yin and the rest nodded at Lin Mingyao and left. Mingyao Lin clenched her fists tightly as she watched them leave. At this moment, the shopkeeper, smiling, approached her. Miss Lin, would you like me to wrap up this white jade necklace for you? Lin Mingyao wanted to decline. She had taken a fancy to this white jade necklace at first sight, but it was something Zhang Peihuan did not want. However, upon meeting the shopkeeper's gaze, she swallowed her laughter and nodded. That would be kind of you. Miss Lin, I will only charge you 4,500 taels for this necklace, as we had initially agreed with Madame Zhang. Thank you, shopkeeper. With a smile, Mingyao Lin accepted the box from the shopkeeper. As soon as she stepped out of the 100 Treasures Pavilion, her smile faltered, unable to maintain its warmth any longer. Once she settled in the carriage, she swiftly swung her hand, landing a solid slap across Bao Wan's face. An immediate imprint of 5 fingers marked Bao Wan's face. She didn't dare to utter a cry. Instead, she hastily knelt, pleading, Miss, this is all Bao Wan's fault. Please, find your calm. As she spoke, Bao Wan extended her hand, slapping herself repeatedly. Minjio's eyes, icy and detached, watched Bao Wan. Blood began to leak from the corner of Bao Wan's mouth. Regardless, Mingyao displayed no intention of ordering her to stop. Suddenly, a voice from outside interrupted them. Eldest Miss, the Prince Qing has arrived at the mansion. The master requests your immediate return. Quickly, we must return to the mansion. At these words, a trace of delight surfaced in Minjio's eyes. She turned to Bao Wan, still kneeling to one side, her voice cold enough. Tossing a bottle of medicine to Bao Wan, she spoke in a low voice. If anyone asks, you know what to say, right? Yes, I clumsily fell, Mississippi. This is top-notch injury medicine. Apply it yourself later. Thank you, Mississippi. Bao Wan quickly collected the medicine bottle, then bowed her head and moved to kneel in a corner of the carriage. Meanwhile, at Lin Mansion. Prince, I prepared this cake personally for you. Xiao Juanhao, seated in the pavilion, examined the woman before him. His eyes were filled with mockery, yet Lin Mingxin remained oblivious, blind to the derision in the man's gaze. All she saw was his strikingly handsome face. She picked up a piece of cake, presenting it to Xiao Juanhao, nearly bringing it to his mouth. Thank you, third miss. Xiao Juanhao graciously accepted the pastry from Lin Mingxin. However, just as he was about to take a bite, someone whisked the pastry away from him. Your Highness, this pastry may be difficult to digest. It would be better if you refrained from eating it. Chapter 74: One won't hesitate to take you down. First, Lin Mingyao softly removed the pastry from Xiao Junhao's hand. Upon seeing her, a hint of warmth glowed in Xiao Junhao's eyes. You're back? Apologies for keeping you waiting, Your Highness. Observing the man's familiar demeanor, a hint of delight emerged on Lin Minjio's face. No worries at all, he replied calmly. Why don't you come and sit in my courtyard, Your Highness? Sure. Xiao Juanhao gave a nod of agreement, then followed her to leave, leaving Lin Mingxin alone in the pavilion. As she watched them depart, Mingxin clenched her fists tightly. "Why did you visit the manor today, Your Highness?" Lin Mingyao didn't ask about the prior incident. After serving Xiao Juanhao a cup of tea, she turned the conversation to serious matters. Upon hearing this, Xiao Junhao's face turned serious. "My father has already betrothed Jiang Peihuan to King Cheng." Betrothed to King Cheng? Lin Mingyu's eyes were wide with surprise and mixed emotions at Xiao Junhao's revelation. She felt a rush of joy upon learning that Jiang Peihuan was betrothed, which meant she no longer had to worry about marrying Xiao Juanhao. However, the reality that Jiang Peihuan was betrothed to King Cheng, a man of unparalleled power, stirred a sense of unease in her. Is Jiang Peihuan truly that fortunate? She pondered. Jiang Hong willingly surrendered his commander's seal. Soon after, my father arranged Jiang Sihuan's betrothal to King Cheng. As it stands, I can no longer rely on the general's mansion, Xiao Juanhao revealed. Yao heir, the only one who can help me now is you. What does your highness need me to do? My father plans to construct a palace in the outskirts. If I could oversee this project, I would have frequent opportunities to be in his presence. You should visit the eldest princess more often in the coming days. I hope my father entrusts me with this responsibility. All right, Yao heir understands. They'll pay a visit to the eldest princess later. Thank you for your effort. Hearing Lin Mingyu's words, Xiao Juanhao extended his hand to caress her long hair. Seeing the tenderness in his eyes, she firmly grasped his hand. Yao heir is willing to do anything for your highness, so it doesn't feel like a burden at all. Since her rebirth, Jiang Peihuan continued to exercise daily. She believed her stamina was more than adequate, but in that moment, she truly felt the weariness seeping into her. Noticing Shui Yin and Lu Xiu pressing on with their shopping, Jiang Peihuan could not help but voice out, "Mother, we can't possibly finish shopping in a day. Maybe we should come back in a couple of days. Let's call it a day and head home." "Yes, mother. My legs are about to break." Jiang Xijin chimed in, rubbing her waist. She regretted her decision to tag along, unaware of the exhaustion shopping could bring. "You two simply need to exercise more. Look at your third aunt. She's no martial artist, yet she isn't complaining," Shui Yin chided them. Hearing this, Lu Xiu reddened slightly. "Sister-in-law, although I'm no expert in martial arts, I used to play outside with my brothers since childhood. In terms of stamina, I'm not far behind. Why don't we rest and grab a bite at the Pine and Crane Pavilion?" suggested Jiang Peihuan, spotting the restaurant nearby. Shui Yin, herself feeling a bit worn out, nodded in agreement upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's suggestion. The four of them walked into the Pine and Crane Pavilion. Spotting them, a waiter immediately attended to them. "Madam, would you prefer to be seated in the main hall or a private room?" "Well, take a private room." "Very well, please follow me upstairs." Leading the way, the waiter escorted them to a private room on the second floor. Once the tea was served, he addressed Shui Yin with a polite smile. "Madam, enjoy your tea. Your food will be up shortly." "Thank you," Shui Yin responded. Jiang Peihuan poured tea for each of them, first setting a cup before Shui Yin, then passing one to Lu Xiu. "Mother, third aunt, have some tea to refresh yourselves. Huan heir, you've also been on your feet all day. Relax a bit," Lu Xiu said softly, accepting the tea from Jiang Peihuan's hand. As Jiang Peihuan was about to respond, a ruckus erupted outside, filled with the clatter of fighting and heated arguments. They would have dismissed it, but Zhang Songbei's name caught their attention. They didn't care at first, but they heard Zhang Songbei's name. Outside the door, Yin Quan glared furiously at a woman shielded by Zhang Songbei. "Zhang Songbei, you better stay out of this, or else I won't mind giving you a beating too." "Yin Quan, you're crossing a line. She's my cousin, and you dare to humiliate her in front of me. Do you see me as a pushover?" Zhang Songbei fired back. "Oh, cousin? The Lu family is nothing more than a bunch of merchants, and she is just a merchant's daughter. What makes her so high and mighty? At most, they'll just make her my concubine." "You." Upon hearing this, Zhang Songbei's eyes blazed with fury, but the woman behind him held his sleeve. "Cousin, let it be. I'm fine. Cousin Xian, don't be scared. I'm here today, and I won't let anyone bully you." assured Jiang Songbai, before launching a kick at Yin Quan. Yin Quan, who was already 20 and had over a decade of martial arts training, clearly held an upper hand against Jiang Songbai, whose martial arts experience was relatively brief. When Jiang Peihuan pushed open the door, she found Yin Quan pinning Jiang Songbai to the ground, relentlessly raining punches onto his face. Despite the assault, Jiang Songbai refused to cry out in pain. He gritted his teeth, waiting for the right moment. When Yin Quan was momentarily distracted, Jiang Songbai seized the opportunity, kicked Yin Quan off him, and quickly gained the upper hand. However, Yin Quan had a trick up his sleeve. He swiftly pulled out his dagger. Witnessing this dangerous turn, Lu Exine couldn't contain a shriek. "Songbai, watch out!" Fortunately, the dagger didn't find its way to Jiang Songbai. Jiang Peihuan had reacted promptly, pulling out the long whip fastened to her waist and skillfully ensnaring Yin Quan's wrist. With a firm tug, Yin Quan found himself crashing to the ground. "Elder sister?" Jiang Songbai, surprised and relieved, locked eyes with his savior. "Did you get hurt?" Jiang Peihuan asked in a soft voice, examining Jiang Songbai for injuries. Jiang Songbai shook his head. "I'm all right." Enraged, Yin Quan glared at Jiang Songbai, his words seething with contempt. "Are you even a man, relying on a woman to fight your battles?" Jiang Peihuan fired back sharply. "Master Yin, you are 8 years older than my brother. Is it a mark of a gentleman to bully those younger than you?" It's Jiang Songbei's fault for poking his nose where it doesn't belong. Even so, do you have the right to humiliate my cousin publicly? Yin Quan, you're nothing but a coward. Jiang Songbai, repeat that and I swear ill. Yin Quan's threat got cut off mid-sentence when a sudden sharp pain shot through his mouth. He clutched his mouth, and when he pulled his hand back, it held 2 of his teeth. "You!" Yin Quan glowered at Jiang Peihuan, his eyes dark with malice. "If you think you can lay a hand on my brother, you're mistaken. I won't hesitate to take you down first." Chapter 75. Mentioning the past whip in hand, Jiang Sihuan pointed at Yin Quan. Her eyes brimmed with fierce hostility, making Yin Quan shudder. Yet, the moment he realized his fear of a woman, a mix of shame and irritation filled his eyes. The power in Paihuan's whip had made an impression on him. No longer daring to provoke Jiang Sihuan, he cast a scornful glance at Jiang Songbai. Hiding behind a woman, what kind of man does that? I will remember what happened today. Yin Quan, will definitely get back at you. With those words, he made a swift exit, bumping into a young waiter on his way down the stairs. The waiter, carrying a tray of food, lost his balance, and the dishes spilled over Yin Quan. Seeing his stained clothes, Yin Quan was angered. He kicked the waiter, sending him rolling down the stairs. The waiter's head was bleeding on the spot, but he didn't dare to say anything. Looking up into Yin Quan's icy stare, he quickly apologized. "I'm sorry, Master Yin. I didn't mean to, you blind mutt." Before the waiter could finish, Yin Quan kicked him again. Watching from upstairs, Jiang Songbai instinctively moved to intervene, only to be stopped by Jiang Sihuan. Sihuan, noticing his puzzled look, said calmly, "You can help him once, but not always. If you step in, Yin Quan will only target him more." Downstairs, Yin Quan's anger subsided slightly seeing the bloodied waiter. He shot a cold glance at Jiang Sihuan and the others upstairs before striding away from the Pines and Crane's pavilion. Despite the waiter being covered in blood, his injuries were superficial. Jiang Sihuan sighed in relief. She could have intervened, but that could have made things worse for the waiter. Once the waiter was back on his feet, Peihuan turned to Lu Exine and asked softly, "Miss Lu, are you all right?" After the waiter stood up, Jin Peihuan turned to Lu Exine and asked softly, "Miss Lu, are you all right?" Lu Exine, still shaken, managed to smile when she heard Jiang Peihuan's voice. She bowed and said, "Thank you for today, eldest Mississippi." "There's no need for formalities, Miss Lu," Jiang Peihuan replied. "You're Songbei's cousin and my aunt's niece. You don't need to address me like a stranger. This year I turned 17, making me a year younger than you. If you don't mind, may I call you Sister Jiang from now on?" "Of course." In her past life, Jiang Peihuan hadn't had much interaction with Lu Xian, yet the few times their gazes met, she was able to perceive the clear, sincere eyes and candid demeanor of Lu Xian, signaling her virtuous character. Upon seeing Jiang Peihuan's nod of acknowledgement, a smile flickered in Lu Xin's eyes. She continued, "If that's the case, Sister Jiang, there's no need for formalities. Call me Xian heir, like Aunt does." "Sure. My mother and third aunt are in the private room. Xian heir, you and Songbai should join us," Jiang Peihuan proposed, to which she got a nod from Lu Xian. Subsequently, Jiang Peihuan escorted both of them into the private room. The clamor from outside was quite audible within the private room. However, if Shui Yin and Lu Xiu stepped out, the situation would be different. Hence, Jiang Peihuan decided to go out on her own. "Xian heir, how are you doing? Are you hurt anywhere?" asked Lu Xiu, worry clouding her eyes. Even though she was aware that with Jiang Peihuan present, Lu Xian wouldn't be easily disadvantaged, she's still concerned about her safety. As Lu Xian entered the room, Lu Xiu quickly took her hand. The Lu family was prospering, but there were hardly any girls. In Lu Xiu's generation, she was the only one. Hence, she had 4 older brothers looking out for her. By the time Lu Xin's generation arrived, the number of girls in the Lu family had increased, but Lu Xian was the only legitimate child. Lu Xiu had only one son, Jiang Songbai, and she always treated Lu Xian, her niece, like her own daughter. Seeing Lu Xiu's eyes filled with worry, Lu Xian quickly reassured her. "Aunt, you need not worry, I'm perfectly fine." Having comforted Lu Xiu, Lu Xian turned her attention to Shui Yin and respectfully greeted her. "Madam, Xian heir pays her respects." "Rise, dear," replied Shui Yin. Having been through many battles, she was seasoned at reading people. Seeing the transparency in Lu Xin's eyes, she smiled and nodded, then softly added, "We're all family here. There's no need for formal titles. Like Changbai, you can call me Auntie." "Yes, Auntie. Today is our first meeting. I'm not fond of wearing jewelry, but this bracelet was something I used to wear in my younger days. It isn't particularly valuable, but I'd like you to have it as a welcoming gift." While speaking, Shui Yin removed a bracelet from her wrist. The bracelet was of an average quality, but had an appealing style, adorned with delicate carvings. Lu Xian instinctively glanced at her aunt, who reassured her, "This is from your sister-in-law, you should accept it." Seeing her niece's expression, Lu Xiu added with a chuckle. Acknowledging this, Lu Xian extended her hands and graciously accepted the bracelet from Shui Yin. "Thank you, Auntie." "Sister Xian heir, how did you end up coming to the Pine and Crane Pavilion with second brother today? And even running into that Yin Quan?" Jiang Sijin asked once everyone had settled down. Being about the same age as Jiang Songbai, Jiang Sijin often hung out with him. Hence, she had seen Lu Xian a few times. Lu Xian briefly explained what had happened in response to Sijin's curiosity. From her explanation, Jiang Peihuan was able to fully grasp the situation. Lu Xian had stepped out today mainly to inspect the performance of her family's store. Given her family's worry about her being alone, Lu Xin's father had suggested that Jiang Songbai accompany her, as Lu Xin's brothers were already familiar faces at the store. Being Lu Xiu's only son, Jiang Songbai was cherished by his uncles from the Lu family, resulting in a warm relationship between him and the Lu family. Upon receiving the letter from his uncle, Jiang Songbai had promptly made his way to the Lu family. All had gone as planned until Lu Xian, not wanting Jiang Songbai to return home hungry, had brought him to the Pine and Crane Pavilion. They had intended to part ways after their meal, only to unexpectedly cross paths with Yin Quan. What happened after that was exactly what you saw, Sister Jiang. This Yin Quan is nothing more than a domineering bully. Jiang Sijin fumed after hearing Lu Xin's story. His sister was the cause of eldest sister falling into the water last time, and today he dared to harass Sister Xian heir. The next time I see him, I swear I'll teach him a proper lesson. Jiang Sijin heard Lu Xin's words. Her eyes were filled with anger. At this, Shui Yin looked at Jiang Peihuan thoughtfully. "Wan heir, was your previous fall into the water connected to Yan's second miss?" Feeling everyone's gaze upon her, Jiang Peihuan responded calmly, "I had fainted by then, so I'm not entirely sure." She was well aware of the truth. Her fall was indeed related to Yin Xin, but Yin Xin had been acting under someone else's instructions. The only one with eldest sister at that time was Yin family's second Mississippi. If not her, who else could it have been? Chapter 76. Sending Lu Xian home. Jiang Xijin was firm in her belief. The first time she laid eyes on Yin Xian, she got the feeling that she was not a trustworthy person. However, her older sister had always considered Yin Xian a close friend. Seeing the wrath in Jiang Xijin's eyes, Jiang Peihuan chuckled lightly. If we don't have any evidence, voicing such suspicions will only stir up gossip. So, let's not bring it up again. Since you're not fond of second Miss Yin, I'll distance myself from her in the future. Are you serious, eldest sister? Of course. Hearing this, Jiang Xijin was elated. There was a knock on the private room's door. The previously injured waiter walked in, his wound now tended to. With careful precision, he set the food on the table and apologized. Ladies, I deeply regret spilling the food earlier. Here is a freshly prepared meal. I'm sorry for making you wait. It's fine, responded Shui Yin. Being aware of the incident that had just transpired outside, she was not bothered by the waiter's admission. Seeing the group's lack of blame, the waiter breathed a sigh of relief. At this moment, Jiang Peihuan extended a piece of gold to the waiter. Keep the change. Use the remainder as a tip for yourself. Once the restaurant closes, find a doctor to examine your injuries. Thank you, Mississippi. Initially, the waiter was somewhat disheartened. He felt unfortunate for being kicked around undeservedly and having to cover the cost of the spilt meal. However, seeing the gold in Jiang Peihuan's hand instantly dissolved his gloom. All right, let's start eating. After we finish Songbai, you'll escort Xian Heir home. Third aunt, I'm worried that the Yin family might stir up trouble again. Perhaps Songbai and I should accompany Xian Heir home later, suggested Jiang Peihuan. Upon hearing this, Lu Xiu showed a hint of worry. This incident was initiated by the rudeness of young Master Yin. Are they still planning to harass Xian Heir? Seeing the concern in Lu Xiu's eyes, Jiang Peihuan softly replied, It's just a guess on my part. However, being cautious never hurts. I want to come too, eldest sister. Jiang Xijin quickly interjected. Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan didn't respond but glanced at Shui Yin. Suddenly, Jiang Xijin tugged at Shui Yin's sleeve. Mother, please let me accompany eldest sister. You may go, but behave yourself. Stick with your sister. Don't worry, mother. I'll follow eldest sister's lead. Half an hour later, Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Xijin climbed into Lu Xin's carriage. Jiang Songbai rode alongside them on horseback. The journey was very peaceful and nothing happened. Jiang Peihuan simply thought she might be overthinking things. As their carriage pulled up at the entrance of the Lu mansion, Lu Xian turned towards Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Xijin with a smile. Sister Jiang, Xijin, please join me in my home. Jiang Xijin remained silent, looking towards her sister for guidance. Meeting Lu Xin's eyes, Jiang Peihuan laughed softly. It's quite late today, so I want to disturb you. Maybe on another day, young miss. Jiang Peihuan's words were abruptly cut off when she noticed a middle-aged man hurrying towards them, panic written all over his face. Seeing this man, Lu Xin's expression changed slightly. Uncle Lu, what's the matter? Miss, the eldest young master has been injured by someone from the Yin family. The old master is still outside the city. The eldest young master instructed me to wait at the gate, and upon seeing you, to suggest you to spend the night at your aunt's place. Big brother is hurt? Is he severely injured? Worry filled Lu Xin's eyes. She was about to head inside when she realized that Jiang Peihuan and the others were still present. She quickly turned back. Sister Jiang, I can't entertain you today. I'll make it up to you another time. With that said, Lu Xian hurriedly walked in. The steward, Uncle Lu, looked equally worried. Upon witnessing this, Jiang Peihuan knew she could stand by and watch. She quickly halted Lu Xian. I'll go in with you. Sister Jiang, you've already done so much for me today. If you go further, don't fret. Regardless of whether it involves you or not, I cannot ignore such an incident. Let's go inside. At least we should wait until Uncle Lu returns. All right, then I'm sorry to trouble you, Sister Jiang. Jiang Songbai instinctively tried to follow them, but Jiang Peihuan held his hand. Elder sister? Facing his puzzled gaze, Jiang Peihuan whispered, You don't need to join us. Go back to the house. Tell third uncle about this situation and ask him to come here. And also, send someone to inform Uncle Lu outside the city. Understood, elder sister. Cousin Exionaire, don't worry. He'll immediately go back and bring father here. Zhang Songbai assured the worried Lu Xian as he prepared to mount his horse. Hearing Jiang Paihuan's plan, Lu Xian let out a sigh of relief. Although the Lu family was wealthy, they were merchants. Going against the Yin family would certainly put them at a disadvantage. However, with her uncle's arrival, they wouldn't be without support. Let's go in. As she started speaking, Jiang Peihuan was the first to step inside. Just upon reaching the entrance to the main hall, she heard a barrage of insults from inside. The harsh words were from none other than Yin Quan and another all-too-familiar voice. Lu Hao, you're being too disrespectful. Believe it or not, I can cripple you right now. Lu Hao, Lu Xin's older brother, was the eldest grandson of the Lu family. Yin Quan and his men had Lu Hao pinned to the ground. Yin Quan's foot was forcefully pressing on the back of Lu Hao's hand, a cruel grin on his face. Pain filled Lu Hao's eyes, blood smeared the corner of his mouth, but he bore it silently. Yin Xian, seated comfortably on a chair nearby, watched the scene unfold with a disdainful sneer. Your Lu family is nothing more than a bunch of traitors. It's her blessing that my brother even fancies her, Lu Xian. The mention of Lu Xian sparked clear disgust in Yin Xin's eyes. She hated Lu Xian, not for any other reason but the fact that a mere merchant's daughter dared to share the same name as her. The thought alone was repugnant to Yin Xian. You dream of humiliating my sister? Even if you were to kill me, I would never let you have her. Heh, you really don't know your place. At those words, Yin Quan chuckled coldly, his eyes clouding with malice. Well then, don't blame me for not being polite. I've heard you're quite the business whiz. I wonder, can you still work your magic if I ruin your hands? As soon as he finished his threat, Yin Quan applied even more pressure on Lu Hao's hand. The increased pain was too much for Lu Hao, causing him to cry out in agony. But the torment was cut short when Yin Quan, still standing on Lu Hao's hand, was abruptly knocked to the ground. Jiang Peihuan, with a swift motion, loosened the whip entwined around Yin Quan's ankle. Rushing to Lu Hao's aid, Lu Xian helped him up from the floor. Big brother, how are you? Is it very painful? Exionaire, didn't I ask you to go to our aunt's place? Why did you come here? Seeing his sister, Lu Hao's expression softened significantly, only to grow stern once again. Chapter 77. Zhangren arrives, big brother. It was Sister Jiang and Si Jin who brought me here. Upon hearing this, Lu Hao cast his gaze towards Jiang Sihuan and Jiang Si Jin. Jiang Peihuan, you again? Yin Quan managed to lift himself off the ground, his gaze on Jiang Peihuan simmering with rage. Compared to Yin Quan, Jiang Peihuan bore an air of cool indifference. She methodically coiled up her long whip, her eyes as frosty as ice. Seems like the last lash didn't serve as a sufficient reminder, she declared. The sight of his whip marks only served to remind Yin Quan of his pain. He couldn't help but flinch at Jiang Paihuan's words, feeling the sting in his mouth all over again. Yin Xian, standing aside, was puzzled by Jiang Paihuan's frosty demeanor. Nevertheless, she mustered the courage to step forward. Jiang Peihuan, what is the meaning of this? Why did you strike my brother? As she spoke, Yin Xian reached out to hold Jiang Peihuan's hand as before. But before her hand could make contact, Jiang Peihuan swiftly moved away. Caught by surprise, Yin Xin's hand hung awkwardly mid-air. This unexpected move left Yin Xian visibly stunned. Confusion swirled in her eyes, but Jiang Si Jin was visibly delighted by the spectacle. Jiang Si Jin approached Jiang Peihuan and said mockingly to Yin Xian, My elder sister has seen through your pretense. She will not associate with you in the future. So, stop trying to ingratiate yourself with her. Peihuan, I hardly know you. Henceforth, you should address me as Miss Jiang. Before Yin Xian could reply, Jiang Sihuan cut her off with a disinterested tone. Jiang Sijin, on hearing this, almost doubled over in laughter. She strutted around triumphantly like a rooster returning from battle. Gleefully, she chimed in, Miss Yin, did you hear my sister? From now on, refer to her as eldest Miss Jiang. Humph, what's so extraordinary? Your Jiang family has already surrendered the commander seal. You think I value that? With a disdainful snort, Yin Xian retreated a couple of steps. Her eyes dark and brooding. She glared at Jiang Sihuan and retorted coldly, Jiang Peihuan, are you certain you want to protect the Liu family? They carry the surname Liu, sharing no connection whatsoever with your Jiang family. Jiang Peihuan merely looked at Yin Xian with indifference, as though she hadn't heard her words at all. Observing Jiang Peihuan's reaction, Yin Xian felt an odd sensation stirring within her. However, her annoyance only grew. Fine, if that's how it is, then I won't hold back. Surveying her allies, Yin Xian ordered, Go, seize Yin Xian. Anyone who dares to interfere, strike them down. Hearing this, the faces of the Liu siblings shifted. Jiang Peihuan furrowed her brow. Just as she prepared to act, a voice echoed, I'd like to see who dares. Uncle? Seeing the striding figure of Jiang Run, Liu Hao and Liu Xian brightened and swiftly called out to him. Third uncle. Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Sijin also softly called out. Jiang Ren nodded to Jiang Sihuan and Jiang Sijin, then turned to the Liu siblings. Aren't you guys all right? Big brother's been hurt, but I'm okay. At Liu Xin's words, Liu Hao quickly stepped forward, respectfully addressing Jiang Ren. Uncle, I've caused you trouble today. You, boy, why didn't you inform me about this mess? Were it not for Songbai calling me, you wouldn't have thought to mention it, would you? It's my fault. Seeing the look in Liu Hao's eyes, a hint of helplessness crossed Jiang Ren's face. He was close with Liu Xiao, and though the Liu family was a merchant class, he had never belittled them. However, the Liu family, from top to bottom, avoided troubling Liu Xiao, hence they never reached out to him when issues arose. This left Jiang Ren both pleased and concerned. Third uncle, please handle this matter. At this point, Jiang Peihuan addressed Jiang Ren. Upon hearing his niece's words, Jiang Ren nodded in agreement. Next, Jiang Peihuan, holding Jiang Sijin's hand, moved aside. Upon Jiang Ren's appearance, Yin Xian and Yin Quan displayed a flash of panic, yet Yin Xian disdainfully retorted, Lord Jiang, my father's rank is above yours, you. Silence. With a cold glare, Jiang Ren cut off Yin Xin's words. Turning to Liu Hao, he said, Hao heir, come here. Hearing Jiang Ren's words, Liu Hao stepped forward. Jiang Ren carefully examined Liu Hao, noting his numerous injuries, particularly his hands which were a swollen red. Jiang Ren had heard from his wife that Liu Hao was the most talented businessman in the Liu family. Tell me, who injured you? Uncle? Speak. Seeing the stern look on Jiang Ren's face, Liu Hao pointed to Yin Quan and a few of his attendants. Looking at the people Liu Hao indicated, Jiang Ren coldly pronounced, Will you surrender willingly, or shall I take action? The attendants who found themselves under Jiang Ren's chilling stare were filled with fear, instinctively turning their eyes towards Yin Quan for guidance. Lord Jiang, what are you planning? Ah? Yin Quan's words were abruptly cut off by a piercing pain in his wrist, coming to the realization that Jiang Ren had firmly grasped it. Jiang Ren's actions were so swift and precise that no one caught sight of them. All they heard was a clear, crisp sound, followed by Yin Quan's agonizing scream. The sound of Yin Quan's distressed cry left everyone in the hall frozen in shock, including Jiang Peihuan. However, she believed that her third uncle was never an impulsive person. You dare to break my brother's hand? Yin Xian looked at Jiang Ren, trembling. In response to her, Jiang Ren's eyes were seething with a dangerous fury as he retorted, So, you think it's acceptable to cripple others' hands, but it's outrageous when the same is done to you? If that's the case, it'll help young Master Yin reattach it. As he spoke, Jiang Ren lifted Yin Quan's wrist, gave it a gentle nudge, and remarkably, Yin Quan's hand seemed to return to normal. Yet, Yin Quan was in such immense pain that he couldn't muster the strength to scream. Before he could react, Jiang Ren seized his other wrist and, using the same technique, he snapped it as well. The agonizing shriek that followed reverberated throughout the grand hall. Jiang Xijin discreetly tugged at Jiang Paihuan's sleeve, whispering in a low tone, "Big sister, I've always thought our third uncle was a gentle man, but now, I don't think so anymore." Upon hearing Jiang Xijin's comment, a faint smile crossed Jiang Paihuan's face. Among the warriors, Jiang Ren was indeed known for his mild-mannered nature. However, even the most amiable individuals, after years spent on a battlefield, couldn't help but harbor some hostility. Their third uncle, she thought, was managing quite well, all things considered. "What? You didn't hear my words just now?" Holding onto Yin Quan's wrist, Jiang Ren cast a frosty gaze upon his servants. At his icy words, the servants hurriedly fell to their knees. "Please have mercy, sir. We were merely following orders. Sir, we prostrate ourselves before you in apology. Please spare us." As they spoke, the men hastily bowed their heads towards Jiang Ren. However, Jiang Ren replied coldly, "The person you harmed wasn't me. Can't you distinguish who you should be apologizing to? Master Lu, we were at fault. Please forgive us." Chapter 78. Xiao Nani arrives to send dowry. Looking at the servants continually kowtowing before him, Lu Hao's eyes were brimming with rage. Yet, when he noticed their heads bleeding from the repeated knocks, he spoke up in a cold voice, "Enough." He shifted his gaze away from the servant and directed his fiery eyes towards Yin Quan. "Although we, the Lu family, are merchants, we're not to be trampled on. The idea of my sister becoming your concubine is utterly impossible. Today, it was your Yin family that initiated this provocation. If you harbor resentment in the future, feel free to seek me, Lu Hao." Listening to Lu Hao, Yin Quan's eyes were filled with disdain. However, waves of pain radiated from his hand. Seeing his expression, Jiang Ren's already dark face clouded even further. He tightened his grip and questioned, "Oh, so you started the fight, and now you fear retribution?" No, Lord Jiang, you've misunderstood. I promise, we won't bother the Lu family again." Cold sweat dripped down Yin Quan's forehead, clearly a result of the pain. Upon witnessing the scene, Yin Xian couldn't hold back and voiced out, "Lord Jiang, my brother has realized his mistake. Please, release him." "Yin Quan, remember your words today. If I learn that you are causing trouble for the Lu family in the future, I won't spare you." As he spoke, Jiang Ren forcefully lifted Yin Quan's wrist. Yin Quan screamed again, but the wrist pain vanished instantly. "Take your people and leave." Yin Quan rubbed his sore wrist, then glared at his attendant, speaking in a displeased tone, "Let's go." As he passed the Lu siblings, Yin Quan's gaze swept over Lu Xian, his eyes cold and predatory, akin to a venomous snake stalking its prey. Seeing his chilling gaze, Lu Xian couldn't suppress a shudder. Observing this, Lu Hao swiftly moved to shield his sister. Subsequently, the Yin siblings left the Lu household. "Hao, you should get a doctor to examine your injuries," Jiang Ren suggested, his eyes on Lu Hao. "It's just a minor injury. I'm fine." "Uncle, Miss Jiang, it's getting late. Why not stay over for the night?" "Thank you, Cousin Lu. However, our mother is still at home, waiting." "They'll take Sijin back now." Zhang Peihuan stepped forward, whispering. Having only intended it as a polite offer, Lu Hao naturally didn't insist. Noticing the Lu family still in disarray, Zhang Peihuan turned to Jiang Ren. "Third uncle, you should stay. If you decide to stay, they'll go back and inform third aunt." "No, they'll return with both of you." After speaking, Jiang Ren looked at Lu Hao seriously. "If you encounter the likes of the Yin family again, don't just endure. Send someone to the general's mansion to find me, understood?" "I will remember, uncle." "Rest early, then. We'll take them back to our mansion." The Lu siblings approached to show their respects. Zhang Peihuan and the others nodded at them before turning to leave the Lu mansion. "Huan Heir, I've put you through some trouble today. It was deep into the night, so instead of galloping, they took a leisurely ride on their horses. Hearing the words beside her, Jiang Paihuan's eyes lit up with a trace of amusement. Third uncle, you're unusually courteous today, aren't you? Seeing the smile in her eyes, Jiang Ren couldn't help but join in the laughter. I'm at fault. I shouldn't be so formal with you, Huanair. Eldest sister, your martial arts skills have noticeably improved lately. It's not that I've improved, it's that you've fallen behind. You, a man of the Jiang family, couldn't even defeat a good-for-nothing like Yin Quan. It's an embarrassment. Before Jiang Peihuan could respond, Jiang Ren was already casting a discontented look at Jiang Songbai. At this, Jiang Songbai could only show a look of frustration. However, he was well aware that his father always favored girls over boys, so he didn't dare to talk back. Starting tomorrow, apart from your studies at the academy, spend all your time at home training. I will personally oversee your practice. Father, even when you were absent, I didn't neglect my martial arts. Then you must not have put in enough effort, or else how could you lose to Yin Quan? Jiang Songbai fell silent. Father, Yin Quan is several years older than me. Although I didn't defeat him, I didn't lose either. Not winning is the same as losing. Moreover, if it hadn't been for Huan Air's intervention, do you dare say you wouldn't have been at a disadvantage? All right, he was left speechless. Third uncle, could you teach me the move you used earlier? At this point, Jiang Xijin was gazing at Jiang Ren with wide, eager eyes. Jiang Ren glanced back at the young girl and queried, which move are you referring to? The one where you broke Yin Quan's hand then reattached it. You're just a little girl, and you want to learn to break people's hands? Third uncle, please teach me. Under Jiang Xijin's persuasion, Jiang Ren nodded with a smile. Witnessing this scene, a smile filled Jiang Paihuan's eyes. In this life, she was determined to protect her family and loved ones. Huanair, you've just started to recover. Rest early. Jiang Ren reminded her softly when he sent Jiang Peihuan to the entrance of the plum garden. Seeing the concern in his eyes, Jiang Peihuan nodded and responded with a smile. I understand, third uncle. You should also go back early. Third aunt must be waiting for you. All right, they'll head back to Elegant Garden now. After watching Jiang Ren disappear around the corner, Jiang Peihuan turned and headed inside. She dismissed her maid to rest and then pushed open the door of her room. When did you get here? She looked at the person sitting at the table sipping tea, her eyes wide with surprise. Had she not recognized the familiar scent of the man, she might have mistaken him for an intruder. Xiao Nani sat quietly at the table without a light, occasionally sipping from his teacup. Had it been anyone else in the middle of the night, she would have been terrified. I've been waiting for you here for almost 2 hours. Hearing Jiang Paihuan's voice, Xiao Nani responded in a low tone, his voice laced with a hint of grievance. She walked to the table and lit the lamp. In the illumination of the light, she noticed the array of boxes spread out on the table. Not just on the table, the floor was also littered with many more boxes. What are all these? As Jiang Paihuan's gaze fell on the table, the man's interest seemed to peak. He rose from his chair, moving to stand beside Jiang Peihuan. He smiled and said, These are the dowry I prepared for you. Dowry? Do you mean betrothal gifts, Your Highness? I didn't misspeak. It's a dowry. As he spoke, he selected a black wooden box from the table and passed it to her. Seeing him single out this box, Jiang Paihuan's curiosity was piqued. Xiao Nani directly opened the box, revealing that it was filled with large denomination banknotes. Chapter 79. Call me husband. He stuffed the box into Jian Paihuan's hands and said with a smile, Huanair, this is all the silver I've saved up over the years. I'll give it all to you as your dowry. A quick glance told her there were several million taels of silver. Surprise flashed across Jiang Paihuan's eyes, yet she set the box back on the table. Your Highness, I can't accept this. Why not? My dowry will be prepared by the Jiang family. Moreover, there is no reason for the groom's family to prepare dowry. What Your Highness should prepare is the betrothal gift. My imperial brother will handle your betrothal gifts. I want this to be your dowry. He placed the box back into her hands. Before she could voice a protest, Xiaonani interjected, Huan heir, my heart is already yours. These worldly possessions are nothing to me. They can't even compare to a single strand of your hair. When you marry into the Chung mansion, I would have to give these to you anyway. I'm just giving them to you ahead of time. So, will you accept them? There was a hint of affection mixed with amusement in his eyes. Jiang Peihuan could clearly see his sincerity. After a pause, she nodded. All right, I'll accept it. However, it's late. Shouldn't your highness, Huan heir, we're soon to be husband and wife. Shouldn't you change how you address me? I don't want you to use formalities with me. He would feel distant if she did. Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan seemed troubled. After a moment of thought, she looked at him and asked, So, how do your highness wish to be addressed? If I tell you how to address me, will you do it? A smile suddenly flashed across the man's eyes. For some reason, when she saw the smile in Xiaonanya's eyes, she suddenly had a bad feeling. Just as she expected. Why don't you try calling me husband? Does your highness genuinely want to hear that? Xiaonani just wanted to tease Jiang Peihuan. In his memory, she always seemed to be calm and steady. Yet when he heard her response, he couldn't hide his anticipation. May I? He asked instinctively. Of course, you may not. Before Xiaonani could react, a cold gust of wind blew across his face. He stepped back instinctively and, before he knew it, he was outside, with the door firmly shut behind him. Jiang Peihuan's voice floated from inside the room. It's late. Your Highness, you should go back and rest. The lights went out and Xiaonani could only watch her delicate silhouette fade into the darkness. Although he was chased out, Xiaonanya's eyes revealed a smile. Han Feng, who had descended from the tree, saw Xiaonanya's expression. Flicker of doubt crossed his eyes. Despite being chased out, his master seemed oddly content. The young miss must have cast a spell on him. Master, shouldn't we leave now? Xiaonani had been able to sit inside Jiang Peihuan's room. In contrast, Han Feng had spent hours sitting on a tree, and his back was sore. Let's go. With a soft affirmation, Xiaonani sprang into action and disappeared into the night. Inside the house, Jiang Peihuan listened to the fading footsteps, a smile gracing her eyes. She safely stowed the box in her hand and laid quietly upon the bed. The next morning, to Jiang Peihuan's surprise, she found herself waking up half an hour later than usual. Sitting up, her gaze was immediately drawn to the boxes on the table. She hadn't had the chance to examine their contents last night, but now a spark of interest ignited in her. Seating herself at the table, Jiang Peihuan nonchalantly opened one of the boxes, revealing a pink pearl necklace. As she proceeded to open the rest, each contained a rare piece of jewelry. Even for someone like Jiang Peihuan, who'd seen plenty of fine things since childhood, the array of jewels before her was stunning. Young miss? The voice of Yu Er drifted in from outside the door. Come in, Jiang Peihuan replied, prompting Yu Er to push the door open. Upon entering, Yu Er almost tripped over a box. Miss, where did all these jewels come from? Jiang Peihuan's belongings were primarily organized by Yu Er, so she immediately noticed these pieces of jewelry weren't Jiang Peihuan's. It was sent by King Cheng. King Cheng, is this the betrothal gift from His Highness? Yu Er subconsciously spoke, but Jiang Peihuan gently shook her head. No, it's a dowry. What? Dowry? Had Yu Er not been confident in her hearing, she would have doubted what she'd just heard. Jiang Peihuan nodded, then told Yu Er, you and Lu Er arrange these items. We'll take them to Mother shortly. Yes, young Mississippi. Following a soothing cup of tea, Jiang Peihuan found herself at Shui Yan's residence, Yanlin. Upon seeing Jiang Peihuan, Shui Yan beamed brightly. You're a bit late today. Did yesterday's shopping tire you out? After offering her respects to Shui Yan, Jiang Peihuan softly responded, No, I just stayed up a bit late last night. Well, if you're up late, sleep in. No need to visit me so early. Mother, I came to discuss something with you. What is it, my dear? After a brief summary of last night's events, Jiang Peihuan continued, I've accepted the jewelry already. Therefore, Mother, there's no need for you to prepare any additional dowry jewels. Upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Shui Yin showed a flicker of surprise, soon replaced by a warm smile. I must admit, I had my concerns about your marriage to King Cheng, but now I find myself reassured. Huan Heir, in my opinion, King Cheng truly cares for you. That's why, Huan Heir, I accepted these items. Very well, if that's the case, I won't arrange for any more jewelry. Instead, they'll convert the remaining silver into properties and farmlands for you. Thank you, Mother. Jiang Peihuan did not object to Shui Yan's plan. The man she was to marry was King Cheng, a man of paramount status, thus her dowry mustn't appear modest. This wasn't merely about maintaining Xiao Nanyes' dignity, but also the honor of the Jiang family. This concerned not only Xiao Nanyes' reputation, but also the Jiang family's reputation. Miss Lan Er is here. While Jiang Peihuan was conversing with Shui Yan, Yu Er approached her and spoke in a hushed voice. Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan's eyebrows furrowed in confusion. What brings her here? Lan Er was Jiang Ruyan's maid. She didn't mention anything specific, only requested to see you, Mississippi. Let her in. After a brief contemplation, Jiang Peihuan instructed softly. Shortly after, Lan Er entered. As soon as Lan Er saw Jiang Peihuan, she immediately knelt on the ground. Miss, I beg for your help. If there's an issue, stand up first and then we can talk. Yes. Lan Er rose from the ground and looked at Jiang Peihuan. Miss, could you accompany me to the orchid garden? Did something happen to Ruyun? It's not second young lady. It's the second master. Chapter 80. Jian Mei entering the mansion, second master? Arriving at the entrance of the orchid garden, Jiang Sihuan turned to Lan Er, querying her. However, the answer she got left her momentarily stunned. From Lan Er's narration, Jiang Peihuan finally grasped the whole situation. After a fierce argument with Zhou Rongfang, Jiang Yuan had left home and didn't return all night. When he did come back in the morning, he was accompanied by a woman. Upon seeing this woman, Zhou Rongfang had lunged forward to strike her, but Jiang Yuan intervened. In the ensuing altercation, Jiang Ruyun was accidentally hit by Jiang Yuan. After piecing together all the events, Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but furrow her brows. Although Jiang Yuan was a man of old-fashioned views, he was not the type to be easily swayed by feminine charms. Lan Er, what's the identity of this woman? I heard. She's a lady from a respectable family. How could a decent lady have any issues with the second master? Hearing this, Yu Er, who was following beside Jiang Peihuan, couldn't help but interject. Lan Er, however, stayed silent as they had already arrived at the orchid garden. Miss, the eldest miss is here. Jiang Ruyun was laying in bed. On hearing the voices, she struggled to sit up. Upon seeing the wound on her forehead, Jiang Peihuan frowned. The white gauze was stained with traces of fresh blood. Did second uncle cause this injury? Father didn't mean to. When I stepped in to intervene, he pushed me away and I accidentally knocked into a chair. The severity of the injuries clearly indicated the force Jiang Yuan had applied. Eldest sister, you must have heard from Lan Er about the dispute between my father and mother. Hearing Jiang Ruyun's words, Jiang Peihuan nodded in agreement. Looking at the person on the bed, she softly asked, So, you called me here to dissuade second uncle from marrying that woman? Jiang Ruyun nodded, then said in a low voice, Eldest sister, my mother might have a temper, but her love for me is genuine. She deeply cares for father as well. If father brings that woman into our home, it will undoubtedly devastate mother. But you must understand, this is second uncle's personal matter. Even I, or even grandmother, can't stop him if he's resolute. If that woman's background was dubious, we could use that to our advantage. But from what I understand, she's a lady from a good family. Elder sister, is there really no other way? I know you're wise. Please, help me this time. Jiang Ruyun's eyes were filled with desperation, pleadingly looking at Jiang Peihuan. At this moment, Jiang Ruyun no longer had the arrogance from before. After a brief silence, Jiang Peihuan took a seat beside the bed. Then, she asked Jiang Ruyun, how did second uncle come across this woman? After father and mother had their argument, Uncle Meng suddenly sought out father. By the time father returned, that woman was by his side. Uncle Ming came looking for second uncle? Upon seeing Jiang Ruyan's confirmation, Jiang Paihuan's eyes clouded, a look of unease taking over her face. She hadn't expected Ming Yi to be involved in this mess. Even though she had informed Jiang Hong about Ming Yi poisoning Jiang Changbai, there wasn't any concrete evidence. As a result, Jiang Hong maintained caution towards Ming Yi but hadn't distanced himself yet. Considering the person pulling strings behind Ming Yi, a wave of cold hostility flickered in Jiang Paihuan's eyes. She felt that this matter was not that simple. Second Miss Jian has arrived. What's her purpose here? Tell her to leave. Lan Er entered the room abruptly, but upon hearing these words, Jiang Ruyan's eyes seethed with rage. Seeing her reaction, Jiang Peihuan gently asked, "Is this Miss Jian the person second uncle brought back?"
Yes.
Lan Er, please invite her in. This? Lan Er subconsciously looked at Jiang Ruyan. Jiang Ruyan's eyes were filled with confusion. Elder sister, I don't want to see her. No matter what, we should treat our guest with courtesy. Given that Miss Jian was brought here by second uncle, she could be considered your elder. If you dismiss her without a meeting, word might reach second uncle and cause unnecessary trouble. Therefore, let's hear what she has to say. All right then, invite her in. Understood. Moments later, Lan Er re-entered the room, accompanied by a woman in white. The woman seemed to be in her early 20s. Though not exceptionally beautiful, she exuded a gentle and scholarly aura. Upon seeing Jian Mei, Jiang Peihuan immediately understood why her second uncle had brought her back. This woman's demeanor held a powerful allure for men like Jiang Yuan. Greetings, eldest Miss and second Mississippi. Upon entering, Jian Mei immediately bowed to Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyan. Hearing her address, Jiang Paihuan's eyes sparkled with curiosity. How did you figure out my identity, Miss Jian? I've heard that there are 3 young misses in this mansion. However, since the third miss is still quite young, I assumed you must be the eldest miss. Jian Mei's voice matched her personality, incredibly gentle and soft. Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan chuckled. Miss Jian, you're quite sharp. It's no surprise that my second uncle brought you here. You flatter me. Eldest Mississippi Lord Jiang merely saw my lonely situation and took pity on me, offering me a place to reside. If it's just a shelter you need, the Jiang Mansion has several properties available. Perhaps I can arrange one for you, Miss Jian. My second uncle, being a man of simplicity, overlooked the fact that a lattice reputation must remain untainted. This way, we can avoid any misunderstandings within the residence. What do you think, Miss Jian? Eldest Miss, are you trying to chase me out of the mansion? Jian Mei, who appeared calm and gentle just moments ago, abruptly shifted her demeanor upon hearing Jiang Paihuan's words. Jiang Ruyan, who was sitting on the bed, was stunned when he saw this scene. Since Jian Mei's arrival at the mansion, she had always maintained a serene disposition. Jiang Ruyan had assumed she was incapable of getting angry. Miss Jian, you must be kidding, retorted Jiang Peihuan. Ignoring the blatant fury in Jian Mei's eyes, Jiang Peihuan offered a light-hearted smile. However, her eyes were devoid of any amusement. Instead, they were brimming with a cool indifference. Even if you were a common visitor, not to mention a guest my second uncle brought, I wouldn't utter words of sending you away. You mentioned wanting a secure place to stay, prompting me to suggest this solution. Since you are looking for safety, I presumed it doesn't necessarily have to be within the general's mansion. Unless, of course, your idea of safety means being at my second uncle's side? I am not a dishonorable person, nor do I need to cling to Lord Jiang. It was Lord Jiang himself who vowed to take responsibility for me. If the 2 young misses are displeased with my presence, then I will take my leave. The moment she finished speaking, Jian Mei dashed out, her eyes welling up with tears. Watching her receding figure, surprise flickered in Jiang Paihuan's eyes, but it was quickly replaced with understanding. She knew who this melodrama was intended for. Mei, what's wrong with you? Staring at the teary-eyed Jian Mei, Jiang Yuan looked puzzled. Seeing him, Jiang Mei's tears flowed more freely, yet she managed to smile. Lord Jiang, I am all right. It's all my fault. I upset the 2 young misses. Please, don't have any disputes with the second young miss because of me. Chapter 81. Jiang Paihuan's probing. Originally, Jiang Yuan maintained a serene expression, but after hearing Jian Mai's loaded words, evident anger flashed in his eyes. He turned and entered Jiang Ruyan's room. However, he paused, surprised to see Jiang Peihuan there. "Huan, you're here too?" "Second uncle," replied Jiang Peihuan, performing a polite bow. If she previously harbored any doubts about Jian Mei, the words just spoken solidified her suspicion. This woman had hidden intentions. "Yuan, how could you behave so arrogantly and disrespectfully? Isn't this against the manners I've taught you?" Jiang Yuan scolded his daughter, his eyes full of disappointment as he stood beside her bed. Jiang Peihuan was stunned hearing these reprimands. Jiang Ruyun was Jiang Yuan's only daughter, and he had always showered her with affection, both in his previous and current life. Now, it appeared he was even willing to scold his own daughter over another woman. While Jiang Peihuan was shocked, Jiang Ruyun was utterly frozen in disbelief. Her eyes welled up and turned red as she stared at her father, her face pale as she questioned, "Father, are you ignoring your own daughter for her sake?" Jiang Ruyun's eyes were filled with accusation. Initially, seeing her injury, Jiang Yuan felt a pang of regret, but her words brought his simmering anger back to the surface. "Second uncle, I think there's been a misunderstanding," interjected Jiang Peihuan, aiming to prevent any further harsh words from Jiang Yuan. Hearing her, Jiang Yuan turned his gaze toward her. "A misunderstanding?" "Yes, it's a misunderstanding. Lord Jiang, you don't need to blame Second Mississippi. I am at fault here. I shouldn't have disturbed Second Miss, it's all. Miss Jian, may I speak with my second uncle first?" interrupted Jiang Peihuan with a polite smile, seeing Jiang Mei was eager to explain herself. Despite her courteous smile, Jiang Peihuan's eyes held not a trace of mirth, but only cold indifference. Meeting Jian Peihuan's eyes, Jian Mai's heart skipped a beat. Then, she silently stood aside, putting on a fearful and aggrieved look. Seeing her in this state, a hint of mockery flashed in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. She then turned her gaze towards Jiang Yuan and continued, "I heard that Ruyun was hurt, so I specifically came to check on her. I had just sat down when I saw Miss Jian hurrying in. Ruyun wasn't feeling well, and I was about to send Miss Jian home, but considering her well-meaning intentions, I let her in. However, no sooner had she entered than she began spouting off vague statements. Second uncle, you can ask the maids in the room. Nobody insulted her, and no one laid a hand on her." Jiang Peihuan spoke softly, her demeanor calm. Upon hearing her words, Jiang Yuan instinctively glanced at Jian Mei. Spotting his furrowed brows, Jian Mei quickly interjected, "Lord Jiang, please don't misunderstand. I just wish to maintain a good relationship with the second Mississippi. After all, we will be family in the future." "Family?" Earlier in the room, didn't Miss Jian mention that she was only seeking a place to settle down? "I was considering offering her a suitable courtyard from the many we have in our residence. What does this idea of family mean?" Although her words were addressed to Jian Mei, Jiang Peihuan's gaze rested squarely on Jiang Yuan. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, embarrassment flickered in Jiang Yuan's eyes, but he nonetheless voiced his explanation. "I had too much to drink last night and inadvertently offended Miss Jiang. So he had no choice but to bring her to the general's mansion." Even though Jiang Yuan didn't finish his sentence, Jiang Peihuan already understood his implication. Hearing this, a faint smile appeared on Jiang Peihuan's lips. She looked at Jiang Yuan and lightly teased, "Second uncle, you've been in the military for many years, yet your tolerance for alcohol remains poor. The alcohol Uncle Meng served last night was too strong." Hearing Meng Yi's name caused Jiang Peihuan's eyebrows to crease. It wasn't likely that the alcohol Meng Yi served was potent, but rather that something was amiss with the drink. If there was an issue with the wine, then there must be a problem with Jian Mei too. But these were just Jiang Peihuan's speculations. Without evidence, she couldn't take action. "In that case, second uncle, you should accompany Miss Jian home. He'll stay with Ruyun." Jiang Yuan glanced at Jiang Ruyun, noting the wound on her head. He murmured, Rest well." Having said this, he turned and departed, with Jian Mei trailing behind him. "Elder sister, why didn't you let me speak earlier?" Zhang Ruyun had tried to interject several times, but Zhang Peihuan had gently held her back. Seeing Zhang Yuan and Jian Mei leave, Zhang Ruyun could no longer contain herself. Noticing the anger in her eyes, Zhang Peihuan quietly soothed, "I know you're furious right now, but if you genuinely want to help Second Aunt, you need to stay calm." Zhang Ruyun clenched her fist and took a couple of deep breaths to steady her emotions. Turning to look at Zhang Peihuan, she blurted out, "Elder sister, am I really expected to stand by and watch our father bring that woman into our family? Don't rush things. If I'm not mistaken, Miss Jian approaching second uncle likely has ulterior motives." "Of course she has ulterior motives. She's clearly attracted to the wealth and honor of our general's mansion. Isn't she? Not only that." Upon stealing a glance at Zhang Ruyun, Zhang Peihuan spoke softly. On hearing this, the latter's eyes clouded with confusion. "Eldest sister, what do you mean? You don't have to worry about this. When the time comes, you'll naturally know. I'm only asking you if you want to help Second Aunt." "Of course." Watching Zhang Ruyun nod firmly, a smile trickled into Zhang Peihuan's eyes. Although Zhang Ruyun had her flaws, her fierce protectiveness of their mother was a commendable trait. "Then do as I say." Confronted with Ruyun's puzzled look, Zhang Peihuan beckoned her closer. Leaning in, Zhang Peihuan whispered a few words into her ear. Whatever Zhang Peihuan had said remained a mystery, but upon hearing her words, Zhang Ruyun's eyes brimmed with bewilderment. "Eldest sister, you're advising me to maintain a good relationship with that woman. What's the meaning of this? Could it be that you expect me to accept her as father's mistress? I've asked you to befriend her so you can keep a close eye on her, to uncover her reasons for approaching our second uncle. It's the only way to prevent him from welcoming her into our home. Otherwise, how could we, being of younger generations, meddle in the personal matters of our elders?" "I understand, elder sister. I will do as you say." You have to tell Second Aunt about this matter. She tends to act impulsively, so do temper her emotions." "I understand. Then I'll go back to the plum garden first. If there's anything you need, tell Lon Air to look for me." As she spoke, Jin Peihuan got up from her chair. "Elder sister?" Hearing the voice, Jin Peihuan turned to look at Zhang Ruyun on the bed. "Elder sister, thank you for helping me." Chapter 82. The person behind the scenes. Upon hearing this, a trace of amusement flickered in Zhang Peihuan's eyes. "I've always said, we, as family, share honor and disgrace alike. As long as you're a daughter of the Zhang family, they'll always be there for you. Enough now, take some rest. I've got a scar removal ointment at my place. Later, they'll have Lu Air deliver it to you. You're a young woman, your face shouldn't bear a scar." "Thank you, elder sister." Zhang Peihuan nodded and left Orchid Garden. Upon returning to her own abode, Plum Garden, she summoned Yi Xiao into her room. "Young miss, you needed me?" These days, Zhang Peihuan was mostly staying at the mansion. Yi Xiao, practically bored to death, was thrilled to be called upon. Zhang Peihuan, oblivious to Yi Xiao's eagerness, thought of Jian Mei and ordered quietly, "Yi Xiao, I need your help investigating something. What can I assist with?" "Just command me, miss." "Look into Jian Mei's background for me, and find out where my second uncle got drunk last night. Was he genuinely drunk?" Zhang Yuan, always in the army, was no light drinker. Not as stout as Zhang Run, perhaps, but not one to get drunk easily either. The master behind Meng Yi was Xiao Juanhao. The mere thought of the atrocity Xiao Juanhao inflicted on the entire Zhang family in her past life made it impossible for Zhang Peihuan to disregard this. Seeing Zhang Peihuan's grave expression, Yi Xiao assured solemnly, "Rest easy, miss. They'll start the investigation right away. You'll know the outcome soon." "Good. I appreciate your efforts." Without another word, Yi Xiao quietly exited Plum Garden. While Zhang Peihuan was suspicious of Jian Mei, news from the general's mansion reached the Prince Qing's mansion. In the Qing mansion, study room, Xiao Juanhao sat in the main seat. The person sitting next to him was none other than Meng Yi. Your Highness, we've managed to place our person close to Jiang Yuan. Jiang Yuan? Not Jiang Hong? Upon hearing Meng Yi's words, Xiao Junhao's brows knitted, indicating some displeasure. Your Highness, you might not know, but Jiang Hong and his wife are deeply in love. Jiang Hong won't even touch Jian Mei. Even if he did, he'd never bring her into the general's mansion. What about Jiang Ren? I hear his ties with the eldest branch of the Jiang family are more substantial. Jiang Ren can handle his liquor exceptionally well. If it were him, I fear he would sense something. In truth, it appeared the Jiang family had grown cautious of him. A piece of information Meng Yi dared not disclose to Xiao Junhao. If that's the case, let's proceed with your plan. Instruct Jian Mei to keep an eye on the general's mansion. Any significant intel, she must relay immediately. And have her keep a close watch on Jiang Peihuan. Your Highness, the Emperor has betrothed the eldest miss to King Cheng. Are we to stand by and let the Jiang family ally with King Cheng? An imperial decree is beyond my control, but luckily she is marrying Xiao Nani. Though Xiao Nani is highly influential, he is but an imperial uncle. He lacks the potential to ascend to the throne. This could be seen as a blessing in disguise. Knock, knock. A knock sounded at the door. Xiao Junhao glanced at Meng Yi. You can go now. Unless there's something crucial, yes? Upon hearing Xiao Junhao's words, Meng Yi stood up and left. As he walked through the doorway, he saw Lin Mingyao standing at the entrance. Lin Mingyao had also noticed Meng Yi. Seeing him sparked a hint of surprise in her eyes. Yet, she remained silent and merely gave Meng Yi a respectful bow. Meng Yi returned the nod before taking his leave. Yao Er, you're here at this time? Is it because there's progress on that matter? Indeed. After nodding, Lin Mingyao smiled toward Xiao Junhao and said, The eldest princess has agreed to intercede for you, Your Highness. It's likely that the responsibility for repairing the city moat will fall on you. Yao Er, thank you for your hard work. Upon hearing this, Xiao Junhao's eyes filled with warmth. He gently grasped Lin Mingyio's hand and softly voiced his gratitude. You give me too much credit, Your Highness. It's all part of my duty. Oh, and I just happened to run into General Meng earlier. Is he one of your men? Yes. Upon witnessing Xiao Junhao's affirmative nod, Lin Mingyio's gaze towards him became even more affectionate. He was a man of strategic foresight. By this time, Meng Yi had already left the Qing prince's mansion. Yet, he couldn't shake the sensation of being watched. It was as if eyes were constantly following him from behind. However, he turned around several times and did not see anyone. Once Meng Yi returned to his own mansion, a figure finally emerged from around the corner. It was Yi Xiao. Looking at the firmly shut door of the mansion, Yi Xiao's eyes reflected both confusion and discomfort. Having entrusted the task to Yi Xiao, Jiang Peihuan waited for an update in the plum garden. It wasn't until nightfall that Yi Xiao entered her room. Eldest Mississippi. Seeing her enter, Jiang Peihuan set aside the book she was reading. Did you find out anything? This is the information I found when investigating Jian Mei, Yi Xiao said, placing a letter before Jiang Peihuan. She continued, I discovered that Jian Mei was appointed by General Meng. I even tailed him. He has connections with the Qing prince. Yi Xiao was well aware of the ties between Meng Yi and the Jiang family. So, when she delivered the last piece of information, she couldn't help but steal a glance at Jiang Peihuan. However, her expression remained impassive. Yi Xiao was an intelligent woman and couldn't resist asking, Did you already know all this, eldest miss? Yes. I've known for a while that Meng Yi is in the service of the Qing prince. So, miss, was all of this orchestrated by the Qing prince? Not entirely. Hearing this, confusion flickered in Yi Xiao's eyes, while Jiang Peihuan studied the letter in her hand. The document detailed Jian Mei's family background. Jian Mei was indeed from a respectable family. Moreover, her father was once a military officer under Jiang Hong, having lost his life on the battlefield. Upon reading this, Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but furrow her brow. Eldest miss, is there an issue with this information? Yi Xiao, did you personally investigate Jiang Mei's background? No, I had the people from the Dark Chamber conduct the investigation, explained Yi Xiao, Responding to Jiang Paihuan's confused look, the Dark Chamber was founded by His Highness himself, with specific members dedicated to gathering information. Upon hearing this, Jiang Peihuan finally understood. Miss, I have some other matters to attend to. They'll leave now. Just as Jiang Peihuan was about to respond, Yishao hastily left the room. Soon after, the window was opened, and a man's slender figure abruptly appeared before her. Jiang Peihuan looked at Xiao Nani, now sitting across from her, with a slight sense of helplessness in her eyes. Your Highness, have you developed a liking for climbing over walls and sneaking through windows? Surely you realize your garden is teeming with people? If I were to use the front entrance, your brother would unquestionably discover my presence. As Xiao Nani said this, a trace of helplessness flickered in his eyes. Hearing his words, Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but burst into laughter. Chapter 83. Assassination Attempt. During an outing, seeing the smile in her eyes, Xiao Nani also smiled. Your brother treats me as if I were a wolf. My elder brother is simply worried about me, Jiang Peihuan assured him. Huan air. The moment Jiang Peihuan finished speaking, her hand was held by Xiao Nani. She instinctively looked at him. His eyes were suddenly ablaze. If it had been before, she would not have dared to meet his gaze. But now, having decided to marry the man before her, she softly inquired, What can I do for you, Your Highness? 3 months. It's too long. If it were up to him, he'd marry her at this very instant. However, Xiao Nani understood this was merely wishful thinking. He could only sneak into the plum garden in the dead of night by scaling the wall, not to mention advancing their marriage. Upon hearing his words, a glint flashed across Jiang Paihuan's eyes. As soon as she realized what Xiao Nani was implying, a wave of warmth swept over her face. Extracting her hand from his, she spoke quietly. My parents believe even 3 months is too hasty. Huan air, would you accompany me to a certain place? Recalling the reason he had come here, Xiao Nani looked at Jiang Peihuan, posing the question gently. Jiang Peihuan was about to decline, but catching the hopeful look in the man's eyes, she found herself asking, Where to? You'll find out when you get there. With that, he reached for her hand. Xiao Nani's lightness skill was unmatched. Even carrying Jiang Peihuan, when he left the plum garden, no one noticed their departure, except for Han Feng. Looking at the two of them leaving, he sighed softly. Yishao saw him and asked coldly, Aren't you going to accompany your master? The master went to great lengths to be alone with the young miss. As his secret guard, how could I intrude? Outside the city limits. At this moment, Jiang Peihuan found herself seated on the back of Zhu Yun, with Xiao Nani positioned behind her. From her early childhood, either in her previous life or the current one, Jiang Peihuan had mastered archery and had never shared a ride with anyone. This was her first time, held in the embrace of a man. Xiao Nani's hands reached around Jiang Peihuan to grasp the reins. He was exceptionally tall, his stature superior even while seated, causing his breath to brush against her ears each time he spoke. We've arrived, Huan air, he said. Upon viewing the mountain peak before her, a glint of confusion flickered in Jiang Paihuan's eyes. However, once they reached the mountain's top, the panorama took her breath away. The city lay beneath them, bathed in a million lights, the protective moat embracing all its streets. From this vantage point, one could see the whole capital in vivid detail. The sight of the city lights seemingly eased the tension within Jiang Peihuan. Come, Xiao Nani gestured as he dismounted his horse and extended a hand towards her. Meeting the man's outstretched hand, Jiang Peihuan placed her own hand in his. After assisting her off the horse, Xiao Nani released the reins, allowing Zhu Yun to frolic nearby. They proceeded to a nearby grassy area where Xiao Nani casually sat down, patting the spot next to him as an invitation for Jiang Peihuan to join. Sitting beside him, Jian Peihuan quietly looked at the scenery in the distance. Xiao Nani remained quiet as well, his attention focused on the woman by his side. This sensation was peculiar. In her previous life, she had bared her soul to Xiao Juanhao, but he never reciprocated with genuine emotions. And now, in this life. Jiang Peihuan glanced towards the man beside her, her lips parting to speak. But before any words could form, Xiao Nanya's face hardened, pushing her away abruptly. A long black arrow flew between them. Immediately, Xiao Nani sprung to his feet, pulling Jiang Peihuan off the ground and shielding her behind him. 6 men in black descended from nowhere and slowly appeared before them. A fierce determination flickered in Xiao Nanya's eyes as he took in their presence. Huan Air, be careful. With that, he unfurled his fan and squared off against the 6 black-clad men. Jiang Peihuan could tell that these men were of the same ilk as the ones they had previously encountered outside the Jiang mansion. The only difference being, these 6 were more proficient in their martial skills. But Xiao Nani held his own, skillfully maneuvering against all 6. Jiang Peihuan swiftly drew her whip from her waist, her attention fixated on Xiao Nanya's movements. You think you can take this king's life? You overestimate yourselves. At his words, the 6 men in black fell to the ground. But an arrow, jet black and unexpected, shot forth. Only then did Jiang Peihuan notice a figure perched on a distant tree. The 6 men had been a mere diversion, the real threat being the archer concealed in the tree. Be careful, Your Highness. Jiang Peihuan saw an arrow darting towards Xiao Nani and immediately swung her whip. The dark whip split the arrow in mid-flight. Nonetheless, Xiao Nani had to grasp his arm where the arrow had hit, revealing a needle hidden within it. Discarding the folding fan in his hand, Xiao Nani successfully made the man dressed in black on the tree end his life by slitting his own throat. However, the needle had already pierced into Xiao Nanya's arm. Swiftly, Jiang Peihuan moved closer. You're wounded. It's nothing. Just a minor injury. Death. His words were abruptly interrupted by a bout of bloody coughing. Jiang Peihuan disregarded the risk of revealing her medical knowledge and immediately examined Xiao Nanya's pulse. Upon feeling his pulse, her face turned grave. This needle is poisoned. What kind of poison? Venom from a cobra. Upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's diagnosis, a glint of hostility flickered in Xiao Nanya's eyes, and he coldly chuckled. She truly stops at nothing. It seems that Your Highness have an idea who is behind this. It's the Grand Empress Dowager. The Grand Empress Dowager? Jiang Peihuan's initial suspicion fell on the princes, but it never crossed her mind that it would be the Grand Empress Dowager. Stunned, she stared wide-eyed at the man before her. Seeing her surprised look, Xiao Nani smiled slightly. Are you curious about the motives behind this? Could it be that the Grand Empress Dowager fears you might usurp the throne? After a few moments of silence, Jiang Peihuan finally spoke in a low voice. Hearing this, Xiao Nanya's eyes revealed some surprise. He hadn't expected Jiang Peihuan to be this perceptive. That's part of the reason, but not the whole truth. Huan Air, do you know how to cure this poison? Without uttering a word, Jiang Peihuan promptly rolled up Xiao Nanya's sleeve, extracted the poison needle, then pushed on a ring she was wearing. She used a small knife concealed in the ring to make a finger-length incision on Xiao Nanya's arm. Next, Jiang Peihuan brought out several silver needles and inserted them into precise acupuncture points on Xiao Nanya's arm. Soon, blackened blood began to ooze from the fresh wound. Once the blood flowing from the wound returned to a normal red, Jiang Peihuan withdrew the silver needles and used her handkerchief to carefully dress Xiao Nanya's wound. Throughout this process, the man remained silent. Once everything was taken care of, Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but question the man before her. Your Highness, aren't you curious about how I know medicine? Chapter 84. Send the corpse to the Sinang Palace when you're ready to share. You will, Xiao Nani said. This wasn't the first time Head said these words. Head used them before when Jiang Peihuan had pinned the blame for Meng Yi's actions on him. Jiang Peihuan found herself at a loss for words. She was clearly aware of Xiao Nanya's sincerity, but the more sincere he was, the heavier the burden she felt. She could already feel the man's sincerity, but the more he was like this, the more she felt burdened. Perhaps sensing the change in Jian Peihuan's mood, Xiao Nani spoke gently. It's getting late. We've had our share of the beautiful scenery today. I should take you back. All right, she nodded. Upon seeing her nod, Xiaonani gave a sharp whistle and Zhue Yun, his horse, dashed over. He swung himself onto the horse, pulling the reins with his right hand, and extended his left hand to Jiang Peihuan. As soon as her hand found his, he gripped it firmly, and with a swift pull, Jiang Peihuan was hoisted up to sit in front of him. Glancing at the corpses strewn across the ground, Jiang Peihuan inquired, "What about these bodies?" "Don't worry. They'll have someone take care of it," he reassured. With that, he wrapped his arms securely around Jiang Peihuan and spurred Zhue Yun forward with a gentle squeeze of his legs. Once again, they chose to climb over the wall. Han Feng, who was dozing off in a tree, woke at the sound and quickly opened his eyes. "Get some rest," Xiaonani advised as he dropped Jiang Peihuan off at her door. Jiang Peihuan's gaze fell upon his injured arm. After a moment of consideration, she softly warned, "Avoid getting the wound wet and remember to change the dressing regularly." "Understood," he nodded. Watching him nod in agreement, Jiang Peihuan turned around and entered the room. "Master, you're injured." Han Feng voiced out his concern in a low whisper, picking up on the scent of blood on Xiaonani. "Let's discuss this outside," he dismissed, delaying the conversation. Only after seeing the light from Jiang Peihuan's room extinguish did Xiaonani retreat, with Han Feng in tow. Once they left the plum garden, the tenderness that had softened Xiaonani's eyes vanished, replaced by a chilling harshness. He turned to Han Feng, his voice cold and stern. "She really believes she can trample all over me. Go to the outskirts and bring those corpses to her," he ordered. "Yes, master," Han Feng complied, promptly heading towards the outskirts. That night, within the imperial palace, Xinang Palace, the Grand Empress Dowager placed great emphasis on her daily wellness routines, but age was relentless, affecting the quality of her sleep. Restlessly, she turned on her bed and opened her eyes. However, upon opening her eyes, she froze. Moments later, her screams echoed throughout the Xinang Palace. "Nyang Nyang," hearing the unsettling sounds, the palace maids and old nanny standing guard rushed into the Grand Empress Dowager's chambers, but were met with a horrifying sight. The moment the door swung open, the maids spotted the 7 lifeless bodies sprawled across the floor. She shrieked in horror. "Silence!" One of the old nanny beside the Grand Empress Dowager, agitated by the maid's screams, promptly slapped her. "This servant deserves punishment." Realizing her mistake, the startled maid promptly knelt down, offering frantic apologies to the Grand Empress Dowager. "Leave us." Spotting the Grand Empress Dowager's grave expression, the old nanny ordered coldly. The palace maid was stunned. She hesitated for a few seconds before quickly exiting the room. "What of these bodies?" "Nyang Nyang, these are our people. They were dispatched tonight." "So, that scoundrel has deduced that all of this was orchestrated by me." Upon hearing this, the old nanny remained silent, not daring to utter a word. But it was clear as day, this was indeed the outcome. Otherwise, these bodies wouldn't have ended up here. "He's taunting me, proclaiming that I'm powerless against him. Has everything been prepared on our end?" "Everything has been arranged." "Which day did he choose?" Upon the Grand Empress Dowager's question, the old nanny remained quiet for a moment before speaking in a low voice. "He chose the night of King Cheng's wedding." "A fitting date indeed," the Dowager Empress chuckled. At the general mansion, as the sky had just begun to lighten, Jiang Ruyun found herself hurriedly heading towards the plum garden. "Second miss," greeted Yu Er, her eyes filled with curiosity as she saw Jiang Ruyun entering the courtyard. "Where is elder sister?" "Eldest miss is practicing her skills in the backyard." Upon hearing this, Jiang Ruyun dashed off towards the backyard. Upon reaching the backyard, she found Jiang Peihuan engrossed in sword practice. The swift motion of her blade against the trees and flowers resulted in leaves falling all around her. Jiang Ruyun's eyes widened with surprise at the sight. She had always known of Jiang Peihuan's remarkable martial arts skills, but witnessing her in action was nothing short of awe-inspiring. "Elder sister," she called out softly. Not wanting to interrupt her practice, she held back, waiting until Jiang Peihuan finished before she walked forward, handkerchief in hand. As soon as Jiang Ruiyun approached, Jiang Peihuan noticed her. She accepted the handkerchief from her and delicately wiped the sweat off her forehead. Handing the handkerchief back to Yu Er, Jiang Peihuan then turned her attention to Jiang Ruiyun. "What brings you here so early?" she inquired. Jiang Peihuan handed the handkerchief to Yu Er and looked at Jiang Ruiyun. "Why are you here so early?" "The woman has left the mansion, elder sister," Jiang Ruiyun revealed. Upon hearing this, Jiang Peihuan's eyebrows arched slightly. She had expected Jian Mei to wait a bit longer, but seemed she couldn't hold back. Looking at Jiang Ruiyun, Jiang Peihuan asked gently, "Did you have someone trail her?" "Yes, lawn air is on her tail. I'll change my outfit. Follow me out of the mansion." "Of course, elder sister." A little while later, Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruiyun left the general's mansion, shortly crossing paths with Lan Er, who had been waiting for them. On spotting Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruiyun, her eyes lit up with excitement. "Eldest miss, second miss, I saw Miss Jian entering the Pine and Crane Pavilion. Do you know which room she's in?" "I do. I've kept a close eye on her." Hearing Lan Er's words, Jiang Peihuan nodded approvingly. "Good job. Thank you for your kind words, eldest Mississippi." "Elder sister, what's our plan now?" Jiang Ruiyun asked. "We wait," replied Jiang Peihuan calmly. She noticed Jiang Ruiyun's confused look and explained, "Once we uncover Miss Jian's real intentions, we can successfully remove her from our second uncle's life." But thinking about the information she had gathered the night before, Jiang Peihuan's eyes flickered with complexity. Technically, Jian Mei was the daughter of a noble family, but she was willing to become Jiang Yuan's concubine. Jiang Peihuan had a hard time believing there wasn't an ulterior motive behind it. "Eldest miss, second miss, we're here," announced Lan Er as they reached the second floor of the Pine and Crane Pavilion, pointing to the farthest private room. Looking at the securely closed private room, Jiang Peihuan guided Jiang Ruiyun to a room on the opposite side. Once seated, Jiang Peihuan looked at Lan Er and Yu Er and instructed them quietly, "Keep an eye on that room. If their door opens, let me know immediately." "Understood," they both acknowledged, standing by the door, alert and silent. Meanwhile, in the private room across, "Uncle Ming, why have you summoned me?" At this moment, Jiang Mei's eyes no longer had the gentleness in front of Jiang Yuan. Her eyes were full of coldness. Looking at Jian Mei, who was sitting opposite him, Meng Yi whispered Xiao Junhao's instructions to her. Chapter 85. Enemies on a narrow road. He then spoke softly, "Mei, when you're in the general's mansion, keep a watch on not just Jiang Yuan and his brothers, but also Jiang Peihuan." "Jiang Peihuan? What for?" Jian Mei's eyes were full of confusion. "Don't question why. It's Prince Qing's command. Just follow it," he explained. Seeing Jian Mei's troubled face, Meng Yi expressed his concern. "Mei heir, I know you're upset, but you need to bear it for the sake of avenging your father." "Uncle Ming, I understand what you're saying. Don't worry, I'll do as you say. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave now." "Okay, be careful on the way." Jian Mei nodded at Meng Yi and took her leave. As she exited the room, Yu Er and Lan Er hurried to Jiang Peihuan's side. "Eldest miss, second miss, the lady from across has come out." Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruiyun moved to the door. Instead of opening it, they discreetly poked a hole in the door's paper. Jian Mei was seen leaving from the room opposite, but to Jiang Peihuan's surprise, she also caught a glimpse of Meng Yi. Jiang Ruiyun had also witnessed this scene. "Why is this woman with Uncle Ming? Could she be trying to seduce both my father and Uncle Ming? No, I need to reveal her true intentions." Jiang Ruiyun subconsciously wanted to open the door, but was stopped by Jiang Peihuan. "Elder sister, how are you so sure it wasn't Uncle Ming who invited Miss Jian?" How is that possible?" Jiang Peihuan had already formed a guess, but the rest of the Jiang family was still in the dark about Meng Yi's real identity. After some thought, Jiang Peihuan briefed Jiang Ruiyun about Meng Yi. On hearing this, Jiang Ruiyun was left shocked. She stared at Jiang Peihuan in disbelief, her eyes wide with astonishment. "Elder sister, is what you said true? Uncle Ming is a bad person? But that doesn't make sense." He's been with our uncle for so many years. How could he be a bad person? Bad people don't always wear a label that says bad. In any case, keep a close eye on Miss Jian when we get back. But don't make any rash moves. We don't want to spook her. Zhang Ruyun was still grappling with the revelation about Meng Yi. Zhang Peihuan decided not to press the issue further. Once Meng Yi also left the private room, Zhang Peihuan turned to Zhang Ruyun and said, "All right, let's head back. Elder sister, now that we're already out, let's take a stroll before heading back. It's been a while since I've been out for a leisurely walk." Jin Peihuan subconsciously wanted to decline, but seeing the hopeful look in Zhang Ruyun's eyes, she gave a nod. Only for a couple of hours at most. Great. Thank you, elder sister. Zhang Ruyun's smiling eyes brought a soft smile to Zhang Peihuan's lips. Zhang Peihuan didn't mind Zhang Ruyun's naive antics. As long as she didn't cause harm to the Zhang family, Zhang Peihuan would always protect her as a part of the family. Elder sister, let's go to the Linglong Pavilion. I haven't bought any jewelry in ages. All right. Looking at the array of dazzling jewelry, excitement filled Zhang Ruyun's eyes. But Zhang Peihuan remained indifferent. Elder sister, what do you think of this bracelet? At Zhang Ruyun's query, Zhang Peihuan stepped forward. Zhang Ruyun held a white jade bracelet of excellent quality. If you like it, wear it. It's my gift to you. Really? Yes. Seeing Zhang Peihuan nod, the smile in Zhang Ruyun's eyes deepened. But just as she was about to put the bracelet on, it was swiftly snatched away. Master Chow, what do you think of this bracelet? Yin Xian, holding the bracelet just taken from Zhang Ruyun, turned to the man beside her with a smile. The man wasn't strikingly handsome, but his gentle demeanor and decent looks made him appealing. Hearing Yin Xin's question, Chao Jun frowned. Miss Yin, it seems this bracelet caught the attention of my lady. Perhaps you might want to consider something else? Chao Jun looked somewhat irritated. His family, the Chows, weren't nobility, but they were respectable scholars. He found Yin Xin's behavior distasteful, but he couldn't argue against his parents' wishes. Despite hearing Chao Jun's displeasure, Yin Xian replied nonchalantly, "But I really like this bracelet." She naturally knew that Chao Jun was unhappy. She wanted him to be unhappy. The man she desired was a refined gentleman, not someone ordinary like Chao Jun. Zhang Ruyun's good mood was instantly ruined. Staring at the bracelet now in Yin Xin's hand, she spoke coldly, "Yin Xian, do you always have this compulsion to snatch other people's belongings? What do you mean by snatch? Have you paid for this bracelet? If it hadn't been taken from my hand, I would have already paid. That just means you haven't paid yet. So, now that it's in my hands, it's mine." By Miss Yan's logic, the bracelet belongs to whoever holds it. Is that right? Zhang Peihuan, who had been watching the whole situation, chimed in. At the sound of Zhang Peihuan's voice, a flicker of panic crossed Yin Xin's face, but she quickly regained her composure. Yes, the bracelet belongs to whoever. Before Yin Xian could finish her sentence, she felt a sudden pain on the back of her hand. Zhang Peihuan had stepped forward, snatched the bracelet from her, and smacked the back of her hand quite hard. Yin Xian looked at her hand, the back of which was now bright red. Seeing this, Zhang Ruyun's eyes filled with surprise. "Take it. Make sure you keep your belongings safe. One won't help you retrieve it again." Zhang Peihuan spoke with a calm voice as she handed the bracelet over to Zhang Ruyun. "Thank you, elder sister." Zhang Ruyun accepted the bracelet from Zhang Peihuan and immediately adorned her wrist with it. "You heir, go pay the bill." "Yes, young Mississippi." "Zhang Peihuan, you shouldn't overstep." Staring at Jin Peihuan, Yin Xian said angrily. Yet, Zhang Peihuan showed no reaction, seemingly ignoring her words entirely. Seeing this, Yin Xian is dissatisfied. She turned to Chao Jun, who was beside her. "Are you just going to watch them bully me?" "Chao Jun, what are you staring at?" Yin Xian realized Chao Jun was frozen in place. Following his gaze, she found his attention was fixed on Zhang Ruyun. Seeing this scene, Yin Xin's eyes were filled with frustration. If Chao Jun's attention was on Zhang Peihuan, she could have tolerated it. But Zhang Ruyun? She was a divorced woman from the Huainan mansion. Even though Yin Xian didn't have feelings for Chao Jun, she felt insulted by his attention on another woman. "Chao Jun, Don't let yourself be fooled by Jiang Ruyun. She's a discarded wife, sent away with a divorce letter from the Huainan mansion. You can't possibly find such a... Silence. Jiang Ruyun's eyes blazed with fury upon hearing Yan Xin's words. Just as Jiang Peihuan was about to speak up, Chao Jun's voice of rebuke echoed in the room. Chapter 86. Today, I will send the matchmaker, Miss Yin. As a lady, how can you speak so viciously? Everyone in Jingdo knows that the issue between the second Miss Jiang and the Prince of Huainan was entirely the fault of the Huainan mansion. And to clarify, the Huainan mansion did not issue a divorce letter. They divorced peacefully. You, Chao Jun, have you forgotten the instructions of your parents? She pressed. Do you still want to marry me? Yin Xian was so angry that her eyes turned red. Chao Jun had always been subservient in front of her. Although she didn't like it, she enjoyed the feeling. But now, she wanted nothing more than to kill Chao Jun. At this, Jiang Peihuan laughed lightly and said, Miss Yin, since your heart belongs to someone else, perhaps you shouldn't marry anyone else. What are you blabbering about? Yin Xian stammered. Am I? Could it be that Miss Yin doesn't have a liking for Qing? Shut up! Yin Xian yelled, her eyes flaming with wrath. She glared at Jiang Peihuan, and a question loomed in Yin Xin's mind. How did Jiang Peihuan know? Jiang Peihuan, as if reading her thoughts, mocked, Miss Yin. The truth always finds a way to reveal itself. So, if you don't want others to know, don't do it at all. I see now. Chao Jun laughed heartily. Miss Yin, your coldness towards me now makes sense. It seems you've given your heart to someone else. I will inform my parents immediately. I, Chao Jun, cannot afford to marry you. Having said this, Chao Jun turned to leave. Stop right there. Hearing the voice behind him, Chao Jun halted. Is there anything else, Miss Yin? If not me, who else are you planning to marry? Don't tell me you're considering Jiang Ruyun? Yan Xin's words were hasty, but upon hearing them, Chao Jun burst into laughter. Indeed, I am actually planning to marry Miss Jiang Ruyun. At this revelation, Yin Xian was stunned, as were Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyun. Young Master Chao, a woman's reputation is a matter of great importance. Don't take my sister's reputation lightly. Jiang Peihuan warned, her eyes full of caution as she stared at Chao Jun. Upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Chao Jun stepped forward, offering a solemn bow to both Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyun. Eldest Miss, I am not playing around. I am entirely serious and will immediately go home to inform my parents. Tomorrow. No, today. I will send for a matchmaker. With that, Chao Jun dashed off. Jiang Ruyun was left stunned, as was Jiang Peihuan. Yin Xian, however, was nearly frenzied. She glared at Jiang Ruyun, her voice laced with ridicule. Jiang Ruyun, you truly have no shame. A lowly widow like you dares to entice. Miss Yin, Jiang Peihuan interrupted. I advise you to watch your words. Otherwise, my whip won't stay idle. Stepping up to Yin Xian, Jiang Peihuan uncoiled her long black whip. You all. Jiang Peihuan, just you wait. This isn't over. After saying this, Yin Xian ran away, leaving Jiang Ruyun and Jian Peihuan alone. What's wrong? Upon turning back, Jiang Peihuan noticed Jiang Ruyun standing there, seemingly lost. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's voice, she regained her senses. Elder sister, I know young Master Chao. You know him? This time, Jian Peihuan was really surprised. Initially, she had thought that what Chao Jun had just said was just a joke. Now that she saw Jiang Ruyun like this, Jiang Peihuan felt that there was a story behind it. After such a thing happened, the two of them did not continue shopping. After getting on the carriage, Jiang Ruyun looked at Jian Peihuan and said, Elder sister, do you still remember that I lived at our maternal grandparents' house for 2 years? Yes. When I was living there, my cousins didn't like to play with me, but a boy from the neighboring house often did. Is this boy from the neighboring house young Master Chao? Yes. Hearing this, Jiang Ruyun nodded. Jiang Peihuan fell silent. Afterwards, the two remained quiet until they reached home. Upon entering the mansion, Jiang Ruyan hesitated before taking Jiang Paihuan's hand. Elder sister, if he truly does come, what should I do? As she spoke, nervousness filled Jiang Ruyan's eyes. Seeing her look, Jin Peihuan thought for a moment and then gently asked, if young Master Kai sincerely proposes to you, would you consider accepting him? Me. Her failure to reject the idea immediately meant tacit consent. If that's the case, then let's go with the flow. But I'm no longer a maiden. How could I marry him? As she said this, a hint of tears welled up in Jiang Ruyan's eyes. Seeing her in such a state, Jiang Paihuan's voice softened considerably. Ruyun, remember this. While appearance matters, it's the soul that truly counts. Young Master Chao must surely know everything about you. If, knowing all this, he still dares to propose, it signifies he doesn't care about your past, or perhaps he deems it unimportant. If so, why worry? Come on, let's go inside. Elder sister, could I spend a little time in your plum garden? Sure. Jiang Ruyun accompanied Jiang Peihuan to the plum garden. Upon entering, they found Jiang Xijin sitting there, visibly bored. Hearing voices, the young girl turned around. Seeing Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyun who had just come in, confusion filled Jiang Xijin's eyes. Eldest sister, second sister? Aren't you busy with your horse all day? How do you find the time to visit me? Dad says that even if I don't need rest, the horse does. He forbade me from riding for the next 2 days. Jiang Xijin's eyes were brimming with resentment as she spoke. Upon hearing this, a smile crept into Jiang Paihuan's eyes. Turning towards Jiang Xijin, Jiang Peihuan gently advised, your Fergana horse was a precious find for our father. If you exhaust it to death, father might not find a second one for you. Eldest sister? Upon seeing the teasing look in Jiang Paihuan's eyes, Jiang Xijin voiced her displeasure. All right, they'll stop teasing you. Tell me, what's the matter? Eldest sister, I want to join the military camp. Hearing this, Jin Paihuan's eyes revealed some surprise. She looked at Jiang Xijin and continued to ask, first, tell me, why do you want to join the military camp? Second brother is just 3 months older than me, and he's already in the military camp. Songbai is a man, and men in our family are supposed to join the military camp from a young age. All right, second brother is a man, but you, eldest sister, are a woman. You fought on the battlefield at my age, so why can't I? Elder sister had no choice back then. Now, our family doesn't need a little girl like you taking such risks. Before Jiang Peihuan could even reply, Jiang Ruyun, who was sitting next to them, chimed in first. Chapter 87. Visit to propose marriage. I understand. One Jiang Xijin replied softly. Despite her young age, she grasped the essence of the matter. Yet, she still longed for the military camp. Xijin, why do you wish to join the military camp? 11 Jiang Peihuan gently asked, placing a cup of tea before the young girl. Jiang Xijin lifted her gaze towards Jiang Peihuan, a determined look in her eyes. Eldest sister, I want to be in the military camp. It's my heartfelt wish. 11 Growing up, one was surrounded by the sight of our parents in armor. They were always in the military camp. Our eldest brother joined the camp early, and you, eldest sister, entered the battlefield at a young age. I've been waiting for my turn. One understand the logic behind your words. Second sister, one know that the Jiang family no longer needs me to fight. But am not seeking the battlefield. One yearn for the military camp. 1 am a Jiang daughter, born with a warrior's blood. Jiang Xijin's voice was soft, but it carried a firm resolve. Jiang Ruyun looked stunned upon hearing this, while Jiang Peihuan remained silent. Finally, Jiang Peihuan turned towards Jiang Xijin. The military camp is a harsh place. Once there, being a daughter of the Jiang family won't earn you special treatment. Are you sure you want to endure that? I'm not scared of hardship, Jiang Xijin promptly responded. Hearing Jiang Paihuan's words, Jiang Xijin's eyes lit up with hope. She grabbed onto Jiang Paihuan's sleeve, whispering, eldest sister, does this mean you agree to let me join the military camp? The thought of joining the military camp brought a bright smile to Jiang Saijin's face. Observing her happiness, Jiang Paihuan's mood lifted, but she couldn't help feeling helpless. I can try speaking to our parents on your behalf, but one can't guarantee their approval. Eldest sister, if you speak to them, they will surely agree. Let us go. 111 accompany you to find them right away. Anxious and excited, Jiang Sijin held onto Jiang Peihuan's hand tightly, worried she might change her mind. Just as Jiang Peihuan was about to speak, a person in a hurried pace followed Yu Er into the plum garden. The newcomer was Ping Er, the handmaid of Zhou Rongfang. Second miss, the madam wishes for your presence in the front courtyard. Ping Er delivered her message upon entering the garden. She quickly glanced towards Jiang Ruyun, respectfully awaiting a response. Seeing her anxious look, Jiang Ruyun couldn't help but ask, "Does my mother need me for something?" Ping Er nodded and disclosed, "The representative from the Chao family has arrived. They intend to propose marriage to you." "What did you just say?" Jiang Ruyun's surprised gasp echoed through the garden. She stood abruptly from her seat, eyes wide in disbelief. At the news, Jiang Peihuan also showed a trace of surprise. Her perception of Chao Jun shifted unexpectedly. She had not anticipated him to be a man of his word. Seeing Jiang Ruyun's shock morph into panic, Jiang Peihuan quietly advised, "Don't rush, first find out what's going on." Turning to Ping Er, she inquired, "Who has come to visit?" Ping Wana replied promptly, "It's Lord and Madam Chao." In Qj Kingdom, it was common for a matchmaker to arrange marriage proposals. However, when a bride's parents personally made the house call, it indicated exceptional satisfaction with the prospective match. This gesture showcased Chao Jun's earnest intentions. "You should go to second madam first." "Understood." Ping Er bowed before walking out. Jiang Sijin observed the unfolding scene with confusion. Her gaze traveled from Jiang Ruyun to Jiang Peihuan and finally rested on her eldest sister, Jiang Peihuan. 111 explained later. Jiang Peihuan reassured her, "As for your entry into the military camp, we'll discuss it with our parents tomorrow. For now, you should return to your own garden." "All right." 111 head back then. Understanding Jiang Paihuan's predicament, Jiang Sijin didn't press further. After offering a polite bow, the young girl dashed off. As Jiang Saijin's figure vanished from the garden entrance, Jiang Peihuan turned to Jiang Ruyun and suggested, "Since second aunt has requested your presence, you should prepare yourself. Go change into something more appropriate." Jiang Ruyun responded nervously, "Elder sister, can you accompany me?" When Jian Paihuan's voice fell, Jiang Ruyun suddenly reached out and grabbed her hand. At the sight of her gripping hand, Jiang Peihuan hesitated. Recognizing Jiang Ruyun's distress, she nodded and replied, "All right." Half a TS time later, the two sisters were en route to the front hall. As they approached the main hall, Jiang Ruyun, anxiety evident in her grip, asked, "Elder sister, do one look okay?" As he spoke, there was a hint of unconfidence in his eyes. Upon hearing her words, Jiang Peihuan took a good look at Jiang Ruyun's attire, a light pink dress, adorned with a matching pearl hairpin. This look added a touch of delicacy to Jiang Ruyun. Noticing the doubt in Jiang Ruyun's eyes, Jiang Peihuan spoke softly, "Your makeup is flawless, Ruyun. Remember, you are a daughter of the Jiang family. Stand tall, no matter RHE time or place." "Let's go in," she concluded, leading the way inside. Dressed in her usual green outfit, her long hair nearly bundled with a wooden hairpin, Jiang Peihuan couldn't be overlooked. Despite the simplicity of her appearance, her natural charisma commanded attention. Looking at Jiang Peihuan's back, Jiang Ruyun felt a surge of courage. She imitated Jiang Peihuan's posture and slowly walked into the main hall. At this moment, there were 6 people sitting in the main hall. Apart from the Jiang Hong and Jiang Yuan couples, the remainder were the Chao couple. Father, mother, second uncle, second aunt, first uncle, first aunt, father, mother. Together, Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyun came forward to greet everyone. On seeing them, Jiang Hong, acting as the elder, nodded in acknowledgement. Then, he introduced the Chao couple with a smile. "This is Uncle Chao and Aunt Chao. Huan Ruyun, you should greet them." "Greetings, Uncle Chao, Auntie Chao." Turning to the Chow couple, Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyun bowed simultaneously. When she bowed, Jiang Peihuan subtly appraised the couple. Mr. Chow seemed stern, but his eyes were honest. Mrs. Chow, on the other hand, reminded Jiang Peihuan of Lu Xiu. Both were soft-spoken, gentle individuals. When Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyun stood up, Mrs. Chow directly grabbed Jiang Ruyun's hand. "This must be the second Mississippi. You are quite a beauty." To anyone with keen eyes, it was apparent that Jiang Peihuan was more beautiful than Jiang Ruyun. Yet, Mrs. Chow's compliment brought smiles to the faces of Jiang Yuan and his wife. Zhou Rongfang, in particular, looked pleased. Previously, she held little regard for scholarly families like the Chows. However, after the incident at the Huainan mansion, her outlook had significantly changed. "Mrs. Chow, you're too kind," she replied modestly. "You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."